Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to racing at the GSRC. If you've just joined us for the first time after that week or two off, welcome back. If you were here on Monday, well, you've barely had a break, but still, welcome back to you as well. I'm Liam Banks, alongside me is Daniel Saar, and we will be bringing you two events tonight. First, we'll be starting with the Production Car Cup, and we'll explain what that is in a few moments, and then afterwards it's the main event, the GT4s, one of the mainstays of the GSRC, and they are coming to you from two cracking tracks tonight. We're starting off at Motorsport in Canada, which is, for those of you who don't know it, it's very twisty. It's very sweepy. It's a beautiful circuit. It's actually one of the circuits I didn't know about before iRacing that I've really come to enjoy since discovering it. And then for the GT4s, we've got a sprint race at Road Atlanta, that absolute roller coaster of a track. So expect the drivers to have a tough evening in store. These are your conditions for the first race of the night, which is in the Mustangs. It's a lovely 19 degrees, 93% humidity. So if these cars had rain enabled, it would be raining, but I do not believe they do, so it is not. And 29 kilometers an hour wind. Now that is quite a strong wind, so that could catch a few of the drivers out tonight, and they're going to have to watch out for that, particularly if it changes direction at all. That could change where your braking markers are, could change how the car's dynamic alters mid-corner, and could just throw some people off if they're really pushing it to the edge. Before we get into the first race of the Production Car Championship for 2024 Season B, we should explain exactly what that is. The Production Car Championship has 5 cars in the series, and they are the Mustangs, which you will see tonight. We've got the GR86, the MX-5, the TCR. Now, hearing those four, you might think, well, this is a low horsepower saloon car cup. Yeah, but then we went and chucked in the Porsche Cup for fun, which is a high horsepower, no anti-lock brakes, and basically no driving aids at all, just to really test the driver's mettle for 2 races of the season. So it's going to be interesting to see what drivers we have appearing throughout the season, and who, from what used to be the Porsche Cup on a Thursday night, makes their way over to the Wednesday night, to the Production Cup, just for those couple of races in the Porsches. We might see some of the big names returning. Porsche Cup, it's not gone forever. As far as I know, it is on a hiatus, just so we can try something else in that Thursday night slot and keep experimenting with what series the GSRC wants to run. One of the best things about what we do is we get to run lots of different cars, but as we get more and more series that become more and more successful, it's harder to find series that are ready to cut so that we can try something else. And this season it was Porsche Cup's turn, take a break, go back, recharge its batteries, so that we could try something else, and that has had its place taken by Super Formula Alliance. So Formula Racing at the GSRC has been saved from its Friday night status. Friday night, definitely a hard night to go racing on for many people. It's been brought onto the Thursday for this season, so it'll be interesting to see what numbers we get there. And as I say that's been timed perfectly, because we've just got the grid for you for race 1 of the Production Car Challenge. Sam Chapman is on pole. Guy Leach is alongside him on the front row. Behind them are Brett Barkett and Reece Gosner on second row. Then in 5th place is Schultz, and 6th is Tegel. 7th is Hammond, 8th Christensen, 9th Stride, and 10th is Adam Lavis. On the 6th row we've got Bleakley and Gary Cousins, I believe. Yes. Then we've got Dale Sharp and Joshua Thomas, Phil King and John Baldwin, then Gary Wellman and Greg Paget. So lots of well-known names in the GSRC in that pack, and a few familiar names at the front, isn't there, Daniel?
Yes, there is, Liam. Welcome everyone back from the short break. And as we said, we start off with our Production Car Challenge. Should be a really good one. As you said, Motorsport, it's funny that you started off saying that you weren't aware of Motorsport until you started on the iRacing service. So one of the interesting things about Motorsport is that it's actually one of a handful of circuits that has never had a layout change. It opened in 1961, exactly the same way you see it now, albeit with some updated concrete barriers, tyre barriers, and surfacing. Other than that, it is the exact same as it was when it opened. But yes, here we are. There's 19 cars on the grid from what I can see, and we should be in for an absolute cracker race.
Yeah, absolutely. As Sam and a few others like to say, the lower the powered car, the better the racing, and that's why they're always in these production cars or similar cars. The MX-5 is always well populated. 86 is always well populated. TCR was well populated when they were back in their heyday. The Formula V's get fantastic field, and it is because slow cars, it means that the difference in lap time between drivers' different skills is compressed, which means the whole field stays closer together, and they're just easier to handle, easier to race. So you get less people chucking it off into the barrier and take themselves out of the race. As we get 4 lights, 5 lights, all the lights go out, and the cars are away. Pretty even start for most of the pack. Strong start there from Adam Davis. He's already picked up 1 spot, looking to make it 2. Gary Cousins rolls him through up 2 spots. Sam Stride up 1 as well. Ryan Teagle, he's up 1 spot, going off the outside there onto the grass. That's going to cost him a few spots because he's going to have to get out of the throttle. And there's a car spinning in the background there, hard into the wall. Not sure who that was. I think it was Chris Bleakley. Deciding he was going to pile drive the wall and test the structural integrity. The wall held up, the car did not. At the front of Sam Chapman, he's got a dream start, not only to this race, but to this championship. Couldn't go any better after 37 seconds, but there's a lot of racing to go over the next 10 weeks. I'm sure Chapman will stay there towards the front, though. That was Gary Wildman you saw off the track, as well as Brett Barker. Not sure which one was in the Shell liveried vehicle, but it was one of them, and they were on the wall as we watched Sam Stride going for what looked to be an ambitious move. Wasn't quite alongside, probably for the best, because that certainly would have been contact. Chapman leads from Leach, leads from Gosner as we're about halfway around lap 1. And now we're watching Sam Stride in the mid pack, and everybody has just settled down a little bit, but we've had a few notable casualties. At least 4, by my count, 5 drivers going off the track. Some rejoining, others in the pit. Those in the pits include Bleakley, King and Paget. It'll be interesting to see if they do bother coming back out, as Adam Lavis looks to make a move at the front. I expect to see him a little bit higher on the field in these cars, generally a bit of a specialist in the slower cars, as well as the wings and sticks. You know what, he's actually a bit of a specialist in most things. Not an alien, but very, very close to.
Oh, no!
He's going for a spin! As Guy Leach takes a spin in front of him as well. They've collected half the field. Trying to reverse and get back on track. It's
a good spin.
Dale Sharp coming through.
I'll give him that. That was a good spin. That's a bad rejoin. Does he keep it? He does. Actually, good props there for Joshua Thomas.
Really glad to see him keep it on track. That was some really, really good driving there. And the field is down to 10 by making of those who have not crashed. That's what happened here. Spin, a sympathy spin. And then he just ends up on the racing line. He did slam his brakes on. I don't know how much more he could have done there. So just a bit unlucky that he ended up right on the racing line. And yeah, it very much was the commentator's curse. I'll apologise to Adam next time I'm in the comms box with him. I'm sure we'll share the comms box at some point this season, probably covering for Zach on one of the weeknights.
So yeah,
that's a good point, Lobesy.
So obviously lap 1, race 1 is catching a ton of people out. We'll try and go back and see some of those initial incidents that happened off the start of the race. But this is characteristic of what you're going to see in the production car series. We're talking about the Mustang FR500S. It's a V8, 325 horsepower, and I mean, you get what's on the box pretty much. You need to have right foot control. These don't have aids. They're very much a driver's car, if you will, and people are just putting a little bit too much, as Lobesy said, a little bit too much jandle and getting that rearward. The tyres have not had enough time to warm up, and so those initial crashes off the start were characteristic of that, and then coming around that last corner, Motorsport actually has a very wicked final corner. It baits you into trying to taking it faster, but the angle is actually misleading, and so what you saw happen to Adam Lavis is very characteristic there. So an unfortunate one for them. Doesn't seem like there's a ton of damage from his side, but for some others they'll definitely have to come in to get that repaired. We're about 4 minutes in now to the first 2 races tonight here for the production cars, and Seb Chapman has a pretty decent lead with 2.8 seconds on Ryan Teagle in P2.
Yeah, he's that magnificent start that I spoke about 30 seconds in has ballooned out to 4 minutes in, and it's still going magnificently. So he'll be very, very happy, and he's taking an early mark as the title favourite, you'd have to say, if this performance continues for the rest of this race. Good to see Mikey Hammond out there in 4th place, up 3 positions from 7th. There's a fair few drivers that have made large gains up the field as others in front of them have crashed. Hammond less so. He's the one that's actually been making overtakes, getting it done the hard way. He's up to 4, so he's pressuring the podium positions ahead of him, and he'll fancy his chances of trying to chase down Chapo if he can get ahead of Gosler and Tegel. And I think what you mentioned about these cars, how they've got power, no aids, how you need to be gentle with the right foot. I think it's going to be interesting to see how the strength of the drivers changes as we go through the different vehicles, because every vehicle demands a different driving style. If you're driving the GR86, it's a slow car, but it's actually quite taily. So you've got to keep the tail in check, and you can actually use that to get around the corner quicker if you are confident in exactly how much rear tyre slippage you can handle before you're going to lose back end of the car. TCRs are the exact opposite. With the TCR, if you get on the throttle before you are fully turned, you will just push and push and push out wide. Those cars do not like to turn and accelerate, and to get the best amount of rotation into them, you need to really heavily trail brake as you're going into the corner and get all that weight on the front end. And they can pretty much all of the different TCR cars, they can handle being treated like that and being treated really roughly. Something you would never do in a lot of cars, because the back end would just spin on you. You know, if you drive these like that, it's going to spin on you. And particularly with these cars, you have to be careful, as Daniel said, on throttle oversteer is going to be a massive factor in these cars. And then you're going to get to the Porsche Cup, and Porsche Cup is a bit of a mixture. You will spin if you get onto the throttle heavy out on the exit of the corner. You will also spin if you carry too much trail brake, but if you don't carry any trail brake, you'll struggle to get enough rotation. So it's going to be really interesting to see who can adapt their driving style to the cars each week, because I can't imagine many drivers are going to be out and out pounding these cars for hours and hours before they hop into this series. It's going to be get in and see how you go. So I think we'll see some people that are strong in some cars, some that are strong in other cars, and that's really going to make for an interesting dynamic in the championship, as we watched Sam Stride going off track there and losing a couple of positions. So that's put Mikey Hammond up into 2nd. Let's see if he can chase down Chapman.
And just to touch on that move there, it was a really good move by Hammond. He came in on that last turn, got right up on the bumper there of Ryan. Wait, no, I don't think that relative is correct. That's Reese Gosling that we've got on our screen, so I'll have to reread that one, but that's okay. Yeah, so Mikey got right up onto the back of Reese Gosling there, and then decided to shoot down into the first turn, which is very easy to do. You actually have a lot of forgiveness on that inside turn. The problem is that you can't really put the foot down, because what ends up happening is you drift out very wide. So Mikey was able to keep that throttle control and keep that position, and then as they resolved out of turn 1, he ended up taking that 2nd spot. So Reese Gosling is most likely going to do a very mirror image of what we saw here. You'll notice him try and get really up close as they come around here in this final turner, White's corner, as it's named there. Mikey Hammond going a little sideways, getting up onto the dirt, but it's cool. So Reese looks to the inside, doesn't quite have the speed that Mikey had on that last lap, so he won't be able to make the same attack, but they've still got about 6 or so minutes left on that clock, so keep an eye on it, because it is the closest battle on track thus far. It's also interesting to see how much body roll these cars actually have. If you have a look, you'll notice how much the chassis tends to move when they're pushing around these corners at high speed. Reese is actually doing a really good job right now to just stick there, put that pressure there on Mikey Hammond. That's the idea. Sometimes when you're racing, you don't necessarily want to make a harsh move on the driver ahead. What you want to do is you just want to make yourself as big as possible in those mirrors and force them to make a mistake. If they're driving in the mirror rather than driving by looking ahead, you tend to win out, because they'll misjudge a brake marker. Maybe they'll go in a little bit too deep. Maybe they'll try and defend a little too harshly and get a poorer line. So we'll see how it works out for Reese here. Now he's just using that slipstream. Has to pick left or right. Looks like he's just going to hold in for now. No, decides to shoot out right a little, which should give him a decent amount of speed on this inside line. But unfortunately, the Mustang is quite fat, so he won't be able to make it past that easily. Let's have a look here. Again, he'll want to try and tuck in and then possibly get the run out into turn 1, and that's exactly what Mikey did. He looks like he's got a decent amount of speed. I don't know if he'll be able to shoot up on the inside here. No, he chooses not to. falls back for now, but unfortunately, while these two fight, Sam Chapman's getting further and further down the road. 4.5 seconds now the gap.
Yeah, he was so close there, wasn't he, to being able to get just enough alongside, start bringing the side draft into play and get himself into a really good position going into the first corner, just lacking 1 or 2 Ks out of the corner to really put himself alongside Mikey Hammond, who must be said is doing a fantastic job defending. He's not defending clean air, but when he needs to, he is making things difficult for Rhys Gosnell. But watch out, because this 2-way battle could turn into a 3 or 4-way battle soon, because there, just as I say it, he comes into screen. That is Ryan Tegel, and he is catching this pair as they do battle. And then behind him, Sam Strider is just about hanging on to Tegel as he closes up to make this a 3, potentially 4-way battle for the podium positions.
And just to touch on what Lobesy said there in the chat, where he's saying that Mikey has heated the tyres. So if you think about the tyres like a balloon, when you inflate them, what ends up happening is you narrow the contact patch to the track. And what happens is as obviously hot air expands, and so as you heat up those tires, the air inside gets hotter, and the contact patch gets smaller and smaller. And so if you overheat the tires, you don't get the grip that you want. But the problem is it's quite hard to try and manage those tires when you're defending, because you're trying to put your car in a position where the other guy can't pass you, you're trying to make more disparate moves, so on and so forth. So just a little bit of extra information there. So you'll notice that Hammond will have a little bit more of a squirrely tail. You'll notice he'll probably go out a little bit wide as that car struggles to try and grip onto the surface. But from what I'm seeing, Rhys doesn't seem to have a better time of it either. It looks like they're both pushing pretty hard, and so they might actually be even on the tyre wear there and the grip. So right now it's just going to be attrition to the end. But Ryan Teague is actually doing a really good job to keep up with them thus far. He hasn't quite got the same lines and attack vectors here, but it could also be just lulling into a false sense of security. Time will tell. We've only got about 3.5 minutes left on the clock. Sam Chapman has absolutely no sign of slowing down, 4.2 seconds down the road. So safe to assume that he will take this one, unless, of course, he makes a mistake in the next couple of minutes.
Which is definitely something that is possible. I have seen him do it before, and it makes him very, very sad every time he does it. So I'll keep my fingers crossed for him in a completely unbiased way. I hope nobody crashes before the end of the race, regardless of their position, as we watch Gosnell do everything he can to get as close to crashing with Hammond without actually causing a crash, and doing a phenomenal job so far. Important to note that this is the first of 2 races that we have in the Production Cup for you tonight. This is the 15-minute sprint. After the 15-minute sprint, we will have a 25-minute feature race for you, so don't go away. There will be more production cars coming up at the end of this race after a very, very small break, and in that feature we're going to get to watch these little rivalries, these little battles that have played out in the sprint race just continue on straight away in a longer format race. So it'll be interesting to see with the field mixed up how that impacts these drivers at the front of the field, and whether it gives any other drivers who had a bit of bad luck at the start or just mucked up the first lap, whether it gives them an opportunity to really get involved in this battle at the pointy end of the field.
So again, 2 minutes now on the clock. You saw Gosnell just getting a little sideways there. Very easy to do coming out of that second turn in the Moss section. Hammond, great job here defending. He's managed to put that car exactly where it needs to be. Cuts off the line and attack. And it seems as though Gosnell doesn't get the same amount of speed coming out of the corners. So he hasn't been able to make a dive thus far. As again, Hammond just coming out of that final, coming into the final complex of corners here at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. And Ryan Teagle again just lolling in the background there. I'm not sure if he will be in the right spot to fight for a podium. He just seems to be dropping back quite. You can see Barney there waving the white flag. So we are on the final lap. And again, yeah, it looks like Ryan Teagle's just a little too far back to make any significant change as Gosnell goes into the grass.
Yeah, if you're watching Gosnell closely there, you got a really good view of what it looks like when a car gets mid-corner oversteer, carried a little bit too much speed into the corner. The rear tyres couldn't live with what he was requiring of them. I imagine he had a little bit of throttle down as well, and then he just had to walk the car out wide, and you saw at one point he started walking out wide, thought he had it, tried to put on a little bit more power again towards the exit, and he had to walk out wide a bit further, and then I put him onto the grass. So it's just him really desperately trying to stay as close to Hammond as he can through the corner, try and give himself a shot at getting past, just getting a little bit over eager, and it cost him a bit of time there as he ran up over the gravel. And then what you saw from Tagle there in the background is a surefire sign. He's really, really pushing, and that is when you see the cars kick out the rear end on the exit of the corner, just as you think the car's straight. That was them trying to get on the power, putting it on too fast, too early, with a little bit too much steering lock. Back end sticks out. They have to then catch it before they can accelerate away, and it slows you down. And what it also does is it heats up your tyres, like Ryan mentioned there, so like Daniel mentioned before. So if you do that too often, tyres heat up, and you can do it even less. So you'll see drivers do it once, and then they'll continue to do it as we watch Sam Chapman cross the line for a fantastic victory.
To the line! Oh. So
Hammond gets second. Gosner for Tagle fourth.
Yeah, Gosner did a really good shot there to try and dive up on the inside to the line. Didn't have enough room to do so, so Mikey Hammond will hold on to P2, and Tagle doing a nice job to keep that car straight. He dipped those left side tyres into the dirt, got a little squirrely, but managed to take it home. And so, yes, Sam Chapman will take the win here. Mikey Hammond in P2, Reese Gosner in P3, and Tagle just finishing 5/10 behind that P3 spot.
Some really good drives through the pack there. Great drive from Gary Cousins to get up from 12th to 6th place. John Baldwin got up from 16th to 8th. So he'll be incredibly pleased with that result. Joshua Thomas from 14th to 4th kept his nose clean and benefited from some of the cars in front of him crashing. And then a good recovery from Brett Barker to be the lead car of those that pitted, and also it's changed. It looked like he'd taken the fastest lap, but I think it must have been an invalid lap because it's changed on my screen. But certainly he's got some pace that he's going to be one to watch out for in the feature race, which is coming up for you shortly. As we just wait for Aiden Schultz to bring up the rear. Good on those drivers that did have a early crash and stuck it in it. There's always something to learn, even if you can't race for the pointy end. And I mean that quite literally, the end with the points. So here are your official results. Sam Chapman in first place, Mikey Hammond in second, Gosner in third, Tagle in fourth. Then it's Stride, Cousins, Christensen, Baldwin, Adam Lavis, and Joshua Thomas rounds out the top 10. Then behind him you've got Brett Barker, Guy Leach, Dale Sharp, Gary Wildman, Aiden Schultz, Phil King, Chris Beakley, Greg Paget, Kurt Nominson, and Matt Smitke is in race control for us. And a big thank you to Matt for providing race control. It is much appreciated. He stepped in and did it for the Enduro as well recently, which is very much appreciated. He keeps stepping up and filling in a spot for the club that is vital to what we do, but it's something that not many people want to do because they can't go racing. And if you are someone that is interested in race control, even if you don't want to commit to doing it all the time, but you're happy to be there as a backup, please do get in contact with the committee. We are always looking out for people to do race control, and not just race control, we're always looking out for volunteers in any way, shape or form, whether it's as a commentator, whether it's as a broadcaster, whether it's running a series, whether it's helping out behind the club in other scenes. There's always work to be done, and we're always thankful for anyone that puts their hand up to say, not only do I want to be part of the club, I want to help the club grow and continue doing what it's doing. And talking about helping the club grow and continue doing what it's doing, of course, our sponsors are very important in that, and they are going across the bottom of your screen now. We've had Waste Options, Spray Insider, Orbic Australia, Loeb Z Racing, M-Wave Australia, Flash Graphics. And those are your sponsors for the GSRC. So if you go to those for your purchases or their services, you are not only helping GSRC, you are helping our sponsors. and that is one and the same, particularly those sponsors that have been around for quite a while now. Spray Inside has been around a couple of seasons. Flash Graphics has been around since I joined the club, I think. Waste Options, a couple of years now, not long after I joined the club. And then some of the newer sponsors like M-Wave have come on and been a good partner. And then Spray Insider as well. I don't know about you, Daddy, but I'm very much looking forward to seeing Mikey Hammond and Reece Gosner continue their battle of this race. I really hope they end up side by side again, because that was an absolute treat.
Oh, I'm absolutely sure that they will. And now that they've got the cobwebs out, as it were, they've got that first 15-minute race done. We now go to a 25-minute race here around, and so you'll probably see a lot more brave maneuvers now that they've got a handle on the car and know what to expect when the tires warm up and that's fast. So I can't remember if it is a reverse grid. It is the top 10 reverse grid, which will mean that I believe you've got the grid up here now. So Joshua Thomas will start up on that front row alongside Adam Alavis, John Baldwin and David Christensen in the second row, Gary Cousins, Sam Strider the third, Ryan Teagle, Reece Gosner side by side in the fourth row, Mikey Hammond and Sam Chapman round out that top 10. And then Brett Barker and Guy Leach there in P11 and 12. Dale Sharp, Gary Wellman, Aidan Schultz, Phil King, Chris Bleakley and Greg Padgett make up at the back end. And I believe Kurt Nommensen is not on the grid thus far. Don't know if he will take. But I believe we do have 18 for race 2.
Yeah, not a bad grid, particularly given the Mustang is a bit of a strange car. It's something that some of the members certainly won't have. And hence won't race it tonight. So it'll be interesting to see whether the field grows when we go to some of the more popular, more common cars drivers that drivers are going to be more likely to be familiar with, or even racing in the officials. Mustang, a little bit of a specialist car, so 18 is a strong number. As we get to 4 lights, 5 lights, the lights go out and they're on the way. Really slow start there from, I think it was Gary Cousins. He's going to lose a few spots straight away. David Christensen he's already lost a spot, and I guess he will lose more. Mikey Hammond makes a spot. Adam Lavis challenging for the lead. Josh Thomas starts, Lewis goes off. Heavy into the wall, keeps up from rebounding back onto the track though, as we watch 3 more cars go wide, but none of them make contact with the wall, and then we'll all rejoin safely as we're watching Sam Stride. He's going alongside David Christensen and Ryan Teagle. As we watch Adam Lavis in the middle there, almost lost the back end there, managed to get it back under control and find a clean path through the corner. He's got Reece Gosner behind him, so Reece Gosner start 8th. He's still in 8th. He's got Sam Chapman, runaway leader in race 1. He is back there, go wide there, manages to bring it back and not drift that too wide. That's a very ambitious move up the inside. That's not come off, and in fact it's cost a position there to Ryan Teagle, trying to go the inside, had to pull out of it massively, arrested all of his momentum, and meant that Mikey Hammond was able to get past him. Let's watch a replay of what happened at the start.
So again, Joshua Thomas just not taking care of those tyres. Cold, bang, right into the tyre barrier, and he wasn't the only one, but he was the only one that actually made contact. You can see 3 more cars going out wide, but they managed to keep it off the barriers there. So that is a big damage bill for Joshua Thomas. I'll have to come in and get that repaired for sure.
Yeah, I would not be surprised if a little bit of nerves
played a role
there. Oh! That's Christensen and Baldwin. Both off the track, tumbling down the order. Heavy contact into the wall for both of them. Let's see what happened here. Watching on board with Joe Baldwin. So he starts to go for a spin, just pitches it into Christensen, and Christensen an unwitting participant in that. Hard luck for Christensen, and even for Baldwin, it was a small mistake, just a bit of oversteer, and definitely one of those contacts where the result of the contact was much larger than the contact itself. I think both drivers will feel hard done by out of that. As we watch Dale Sharp, he definitely won't be feeling hard done by, because he's up 6 positions so far, and so he's having a crack of a race from 13th to 7th, and he's got Aidan Schultz, who's having an even better race than him up ahead. Aidan Schultz up 9 spots from 15th to 6th, and definitely a better race so far than even he would have imagined in his head. as we now watch Guy Leach, who's got Gary Wellman ahead of him, and looking threatening here, looking to try to go around the outside, which would be a brave move. But if Gary Wellman doesn't start to push him towards the outside and take up more of the racing room there, he's got to let him through, because yeah, he's decided, in fact, that that's not his battle. He's just going to pull out of it early, maintain his racing line as best as he can, and just let Guy Leach get ahead.
So Adam Lavis doing a really good job at the front here. He just has the fastest time as well, the 1:30. I take that back. It was the fastest time. Ryan Teagle took that personally. 1:30.32 there from the guy in P3 at the moment. And I was about to say that Adam Lavis had a really good lead, but it's starting to fluctuate at that 1 second mark. So Gary Cousins will be on top of him in no time. Ryan Teagle just outside the 1 second mark, and then it goes to about 1.5 there for Mikey Hammond in P4. Guy Leach going down the inside obliquely. Didn't have a great turn there, and will lose the position as a consequence. Down into P9 now as Wellman closes the gap on him as well, but he goes a little too deep into the corner, having to put on the brakes. And so Bleakley is safe for now. And just looking at some of these gaps, they're extending. So they've got 25 minutes, which means there's still time for everything to develop, but they're starting to extend. Oh, and I spoke too soon.
So as Adam Lavis looks like he might have just got on too much throttle on at the exit. Let's have a look and confirm.
Too much curve.
Yeah, too much curve. You hear the spike in the power as the wheel got lifted. Spike in the torque demand as the wheel got lifted up off the curb. So you can hear the revs shoot up, and that's a sure fire sign that all of a sudden is broke traction there with the curb, and it's pitched him onto the inside. And we saw a comment on there. You may have spotted it before we actually mentioned it. Chapo wasn't in the top 10. He's in the pits, and he's just got out of the pits after 2 minutes 33 in pit lane. Not sure what's happened to Chapo. We've missed something, but he has taken himself out of contention for this race, which means it is wide open, not just this race, but the lead of the championship at the end of round 1. Let's have a look what happened here.
Oh, he just got nudged there from the back, ends up hitting the tyre barrier there. And I wonder if there's any damage on that car. I don't see. Yes, you can see how that front right is rotating. He had to tow back into pits there. Unfortunately, had a suspension issue.
Yeah, unlucky there. Don't think you can blame the car behind. Just one of those things. There's an instant up ahead. Everyone checks up. Some drivers react faster than others, and occasionally you're going to get a bit of bump-to-bump contact. And again, it was a relatively small contact, but a huge consequence, which seems to be a bit of a running theme with these cars. You cannot afford to make even a small bit of contact, because these cars will just spit towards the wall. Based on the evidence we've seen so far today, as we're watching Ryan Teagle, he's trying to make a move for the lead of the race. Goes on the inside.
That was a great dive there from Ryan. He knew that he had the braking power to be able to make that work, and he did. Down on the inside, up into the lead of the race. But I'm sure Gary will have something to say about that in the upcoming laps.
It's one of those moves that goes wrong if you don't back yourself to make it, but Ryan backed himself the whole way through, kept it under control, did exactly what he wanted to do with the car, and the lead is a just rewards for a cracking move. And to be fair, Gary Cousins played that very, very smart. Didn't try to outbrake him, didn't try to run out around the outside, tucked him behind and said, you know what? No need to decide this here and now. We've got another 20 minutes of racing to come. You can take the lead. I'll just come back at you a bit later if I can. But Teagle's doing his best to try and break away. And now Mikey Hammer Time Hammond is looking very dangerous in third position, and it may be 2 positions lost for Gary Cousins in quick succession unless he can do something to stem the tide.
Yeah, it's one of the things that people don't really appreciate is just biding your time and learning the weaknesses of the driver ahead. A lot of people they're very quick to try and take back a position or to make a move. They feel as though it's now or never. And sometimes when you know that you've got time on your side, when you know that pit strategies are even and things like that, it's better to just sit back and see where is the driver ahead applying their brakes, where are they gassing out of the corner, where are they weak, where are they strong, where can I surprise them? And that information is key. That information gives you more data, and it gives you a better look to see when and what kind of attacks and where you can go maybe a little bit deeper or where you can make moves. So it's very smart there from Gary in the sense that didn't try and take the position back immediately. What I feel like is what you touched on, Liam, is that he'll probably just sit back and have a look as to where he can make that next move and then make that shot. You can see him just going down on the inside here. Hammond had to drift out wide, which obviously caused him to slow down. So, but see, it seems taking that inside line, Gary also bled off some speed as well. So all of this actually works in Reece Gosner's favour. He's now brought it back into that red zone. You can see it on the timing tower there. If you see the red number, it means they're within 5 tenths. If you see a yellow number, it means they're between 5 tenths and 1 second. And so that will give you an indication as to who's in an attack zone and who is not. But for now, we're settling in pretty well, almost at 9 minutes. Ryan Siegel still on the lead. But as it's developed, the top 4 cars all within a second of each other, so we should have a pretty awesome race to the end.
Yeah, we certainly should, as we're watching Gosner go side by side with Gary Cousins to make it 3 positions lost in quick succession, and Gosner gets back up into 3rd place. And look who he's got ahead of him. It's Mikey Hammond. These two had a fantastic battle for the podium spots in race 1, and they're going to repeat that in race 2, unless one of them makes a mistake. See what Gosner did there. There's a really important lesson there for any drivers that are watching that are newer to the sport that do struggle a little bit. See how Gosner didn't panic there. He started going out wide. He didn't try to suddenly crank on a lot more steering lock with the same speed and keep it in the field play. He knew he was going into the grass. He opened up the steering a little bit to make sure that he wasn't putting as much steering lock into the front tires while he was on the grass, and then just casually brought the car off the grass, kept it under control, barely lost any time. And that's something that you'll see the good drivers do. When they make a small mistake, they don't compound the mistake. They don't put, I think there's a saying, they don't put an exclamation mark on the end of the mistake. Which is when you make a mistake, that's all you do. You keep it small, you don't make it any worse than it needs to be. That's what he did. He noticed he was going to run right, so he just let the car ride, kept it under control, didn't try and absolutely floor it. And you barely would have noticed unless you were watching like we were from right behind him on the stream. So, an important lesson there to take away, and being demonstrated very well from Gosner.
And that is something that the slower class racing tends to afford you, is what happened. A lot of people, it's tempting to jump into fast cars. Everybody loves speed, we all love speed, and there's nothing like driving a Formula car at max speed through a fast corner. It feels fantastic. The problem is that mistakes in those cars are deadly. They're very, very difficult to correct. More often than not, you're going off the track, you're hitting a wall, you're crashing into someone else. Slower cars teach you the fundamentals of racing in a safer format, and you would be surprised at how much you can learn while doing so. So in a car like this, where there's a lot of body roll and it's very easy to spin those rears, there's a little bit of forgiveness. And so learning that, you can carry them on into faster and faster formulas and faster classes. And so, yeah, don't turn your nose up at some of the slower class cars. You'd be surprised how good of a racing series they can be.
Yeah, and to use an analogy that everyone can appreciate, you think about when you're learning to do a new sport and you have to do a new movement, right? Let's say you take up golf, you need to learn golf swing. You take up soccer, you need to learn how to kick a ball. Suddenly, you take up tennis, you need to learn how to properly serve, right? It feels really hard at the beginning and you really, really struggle. You can't go straight away smacking, 100km/h serves. You can't go straight away to, whacking your driver 200 meters. It takes a while for your body to learn what the movement feels like, learn all the sort of variations, all the subtle mistakes they can make, and correct it so so that when you get to the final product is how it should be, even though you didn't do everything exactly the same the whole way. And I'm going to stop that analogy because we're about to go 3 wide down into the first corner. We've got Tegel, we've got Mikey Hammond, we've got Gosner, and it's going to be Mikey Hammond who pulls out in front, Tegel in second, Gosner third. So Gosner was a late come onto the scene. Tegel and Hammond, they got caught up in each other. Hammond trying his best to throw it to the inside, manages to catch it, and slots into second, but giving Tegel the lead. This is an absolute joy to watch. This is going to go for throughout the rest of the race. And yes, absolutely, Lobesy Racing, you're absolutely right. You've got to walk before you can run. You've got to start doing the movement. You can do the movement faster and faster, and you learn how to create yourself. You know, when you're running and you start to fall, if you've run a lot, you'll be able to catch yourself. You instinctively know what to do with your body to catch yourself and keep your momentum. When you're not used to running, it's you make a mistake, you start to tumble, you can't catch yourself, you fall to the ground. That's what happens in the cars. In the slower cars, the fall happens in slower motion. You have time to actually think a little bit, insert a little bit of overriding your natural instinct with what you know you should do and catch it, and then you start to learn, well, this is what happens in this scenario, this is what happens in this scenario, and you can put that into action quicker, which means you'll lose less time in these cars and you'll see performance increase. And then when you go to the faster cars where you have less time to begin with, you can still catch it before a small mistake becomes a big one. And that is a really important lesson. It's something that's taken me a long time to learn because I'm terrible for crashing out in faster cars because I just refuse to learn that lesson. And that's why I'm saying it now, because it's something that I think a lot of drivers need to learn. Unless you are amazing, you will not be able to go into a fast car and expect to keep it on the track race after race after race and be competitive in championship. You might have an odd race where you keep it together and you're competitive. You might be quick, but can you do it lap after lap after lap? That is where the very, very best drivers make the difference. And Gosner, Tegel, they are some of the very, very best in the club, and you're watching them put an absolute joy of a display here as Mikey Hammond takes himself out of this battle, becomes the first to have the scheduled pit stop, and he'll be backing himself to get out of this fight and get into clean air, do some fast laps, and come out ahead of these guys on what we like to call the undercut.
Yeah, so Mikey Hammond coming into the pits along with Dale Sharp. That's allowed Gosler to go up there in the P2, and yes, Lobesy, yes, for any of those in Queensland who are looking to brush up on their driving and racing skills, give Skid Control a visit there. They'll be able to teach you all you need to know. Ryan Tegel on the inside here. Reese Gosler looks to have better speed. Yep, no, he makes that work. Tegel going nice in line as we hit the 15-minute mark, so 10 minutes to go here. And it's curious to see when these guys will decide to pull the trigger and come into the pits. Does the undercut work for Mikey Hammond, or is the overcut the stronger of the two? Time will tell. Ryan Tegel comes in, so it looks like it'll be staggered across those three. Reese Gosler, goes out for one more lap.
Yeah, not a bad move from Gosler now, because he knows he's guaranteed some clean track, so he can try and do the overcut now, use the clean track while he's out front to gain some time on those that have pitted, who are going to have to come out on cold tyres, get them warmed up if they're taking tyres. I doubt they'll take tyres, actually. It should just be fuel. And see if he can get himself ahead. And now let's watch to see where Tegel comes out in response to Hammond. Hammond's coming down the start finish straight. We saw Tegel, he was pulling out of his box. There he is in pit lane right now. Hammond can see him, he's desperate to get ahead. Will he? He's definitely got more speed coming out of the first corner, going second, but it's just not an overtaking opportunity there.
Well done. Well done.
Is that?
He's got to be.
He's pulling up the inside.
Yeah, he has to be careful there. The tyres were cold. They lost some heat when he came into the pits. He's going to have to defend hard going in the inside here. Hammond will go towards the outside, and that's dangerous for him because we've seen that he's been weak. He drifts out quite wide, and that does work for Ryan, and he will keep the position thus far, but Hammond might try and push the prerogative here going into Moss. We'll see if he can dive deep. The inside of this corner tends to be better. They're doing well not to come into contact, and he gets a little bit slidey. That's going to allow Hammond to go up on the inside, but Ryan actually has a better exit. Oh my lord, what is happening? They're side by side now, going down the Mario Andretti straight away, and that's a really good point there. Lobesy, this does fall into Gosner's head. He's going to be able to come into the pits, and all of this fighting makes them slower. So that's Gosner into the pit now. And if Ryan came out as far as ahead as he did to Hammond, I'm very curious to see where Gosner ends up.
still side by side they go. Neither driver willing to give up, really just took him behind to do the smart thing just so they can, you know, maybe win the race ahead of Gosner. They decided, no, I want this position. I believe I can win whatever. Gosner's coming out of pit lane. There he is. He's going to come out behind these guys. He's lost out. And he's going to be slow out of pit lane, so he's got some work to do if he's going to bring himself back into the podium fight. Tegel almost rams up the backside of Mikey Hammond, carried so much more entry speed, but unable to find a gap and has to roll out of the, well, just put a little bit more brake on to make sure he doesn't completely take out Hammond. Hammond going wide there, getting quite a bit of rear tyre slippage. And finally, we get into something of a semblance of an order. It's Hammond, then Tegel, and then Gosner a second behind with the slipstream. I think this is going to be a freeway battle before the end of this race.
Yeah, so something weird happened there with Reese Gosner. Mikey Hammond had a pit time of 11.12 seconds. Ryan Tegel, 11.38. Reese Gosner, 11.9. And so that was where the difference was. I'm not sure whether or not he missed his pit box, as you might have suggested there, Lobesy, or whether or not maybe he just had to do a longer pit stop. You wouldn't think so. But in any case, he ended up behind them both. Now, the good part is that it gives him a little bit of breathing room because he's right there. You can see that they're all within that 5/10 mark, and it looks like Reese might just shoot up on the inside. We saw him be a little bit more gentlemanly earlier on, I think, but now as we get down to the dwindling minutes of this race, everything's on the line, but you cannot separate these three. Mikey Hammond is doing a stellar job at the front. Now, we can tell that you might be thinking, well, they're P8, 9, and 10. What are you guys yelling about? They have done their pit stops. Everyone ahead of them has not. So they will have to come in. I don't know if it's possible to do a no stop. I guess with enough fuel saving, you might be able to. I'd definitely be looking at... No, actually, I was about to say that I'd look at Lavis for that, but no, he came into the pit, so I don't think it's possible. Everyone's going to have to pit, so the battle for the lead is the one you're watching now. Ryan Tegel in P2, Reese Gosner in P3, but it is Mikey Hammond leading this troop, and he's doing a stellar job at it.
Yeah, 007 at the lead of the field. He's got Tegel behind him, then Gosner in third. If you aren't already abreast of what these cars look like, take note, because we're going to be talking about these guys for the rest of the race unless one of them takes themselves out of the running. Gosner trying to get ahead of Tegel there, not able to do so despite Tegel getting all out of shape, just managed to keep enough momentum, although Gosner does have the inside line, and I believe it is the right hand next. He pulls alongside him a little bit. Neither of them really interested in the side drive. I've seen this quite often actually. Cars, when not on the straight together, they leave each other so much room instead of getting right next to each other. I'd love to see those cars getting a little bit closer to each other, making it a little bit tighter, a little bit more uncomfortable for the drivers of racing, and really trying to intimidate them. Everybody playing very fair so far.
Oh no!
Gosner gets through and Tegel goes off the track, does a really good job to get back on safely, but does lose the position, and now it is Hammond with a clear margin over Gosner, then it is Tegel. These guys need to hold fire and wheel Hammond back in before he breaks away if they want to win this race. 5 minutes remaining, only 2 or 3 laps. Time to make sure you're in the battle for first, not just the battle for second. As we watch Gary Cousins coming out in third place. Where has he come from? Must have put in some brilliant lap times while we were watching. He's inserted himself right in between Gosner and Tegel and has done so fantastically. Game on.
Look at that, the long play, We talked about it earlier on. We thought maybe he was biding his time. Boy, did he ever. He went into the pit lane. Unfortunately, he will drop down into P4 now as he comes out. He had about in the middle in terms of the pit stops there, 11.25 seconds on the clock. And so he managed to exit out in front, but it looks like maybe those the colder tyres caught him out. Ryan manages to go past. He'll drop down to the P4. So Mikey Hammond now leading 1.46 seconds. The fight between Tegel and Gosner working in his favour. He's managed to eke out a gap. Gosner, of course, getting that advantage as Ryan Tegel went a little too deep coming into the final complex corners into the S's there. He ended up going for a slight adventure off-road. He drops down to 1.3 seconds back. So Cousins is right up there on the bumper of that car, and he'll be looking to try and make an overtake for that last spot on the podium before this race is done. 3.5 minutes to go.
Yeah, the good news, if you are Gosner, you at one point you were cut adrift of Hammond and Tegel earlier on in this race, and he managed to catch up to these guys in the service after the fight, so he knows he's potentially got the best outright pace of the three of them. That is my suspicion, at least. That's the evidence we've seen so far. It's not much evidence, but there is some evidence there, so he will back himself to wheel Hammond back in, particularly when he's got the slipstream and that gap has already come down from the better part of 1.5 seconds to a second. So I think we're going to get a bit more wheel to wheel for the victory before this one is over, as we watch Greg Paget do a good job again. He had an incident, he went into the grass, could have tried to do something a lot more drastic and put himself in the wall, didn't. Kept the small M on the mistake and brought it back on track. Phil King does the same thing, keeps it out of the wall.
Oh man, there's millimeter in that. He did so well to keep that out of there. So there's the explanation there from Kurt. Had to jump out to try and clean up my pedals for GT4. The throttle was sticking when trying to shift and not letting it go up or down gears. So that is why we are down to 18 people. Unfortunate there, Kurt. Hopefully you have that rectified for the GT4 round upcoming after this. So for those of you watching at home, don't go anywhere. We still have plenty of racing to go tonight, as we dwindle down into the final lap of this race. Final laps. Yes, Barney is not waving a white flag, so we will go around for at least another 2. And that lead that Mikey Hammond had is coming down. 0.5 the gap now between Reese Gosner and Mikey Hammer Time Hammond. And I'm curious as to whether or not he has overdriven the car once again, and those tyres are giving him grief. If we have a look at the lap differences between these two, you can see where it came. 1.1 seconds slower on lap 13 for Gosner, and then it went up by 4 tenths and 5 tenths for lap 14 and 15. So if he keeps on that trajectory, he will catch him by the end of this race. That is, if he doesn't set a foot wrong. Time will tell. But look at the, oh wow, he was so much faster through that complex. Unbelievable.
Yeah, there's two things these drivers have to keep in mind now. If you are Hammond, you've got to remember, catching is one thing, overtaking is another. All I have to do is make my car wide. Just because he's caught me does not mean he's going to have the pace to make the overtake. Do not make it easy. It's 2 laps. I can do this. Keep the belief up and don't try to suddenly go faster. The pace isn't there. You've been going that pace for a reason. If there's more pace, you would have gone faster already. So don't try it now. Don't go and try and find time. For Gosner, it's a similar message. You're doing the pace. You don't need to go any faster. Don't try and find more time. Right now, the best thing you can do, try and understand where Hammond is weak. Pick the one place you're going to go for on the last lap and then make it work. You will not get multiple bites of the cherry. So you're going to have to be smart and you're going to have to be clinical. The worst thing you can do is try and turn it into a protracted battle. I think that fits into Hammond's hands. Best to try and get it done in one clean sitting.
So keep in mind, we are on the last lap. So close, you can read the Bailey's ladders URL on the back of Mikey Hammond's car. We are into overtime. It is the final lap. Mikey Hammond in P1, putting on an absolute defense here from Reese Gosner, who is trying to take that spot from him. Ryan Teagle, 1 second down the road. So unless these two make a horrible mistake, he will not be in contention for either of these spots. Reese is trying to push that exhaust back up into the car ahead of him. And now it will be a race of the draft. We'll jump on board. Will he try and make the move? The outside is risky here. You need to have a lot more speed to keep it together. He decides to take the risk. Shoots up onto the left side. Mikey has to defend that inside line. He has to be careful here. The car could unsettle. Heavy under braking. You can see just a little bit. He's pushing him out. He gets him into the grass. Oh, I'm not sure how that goes down. Hammond drifted out and there was a little bit of contact, so Ryan Teagle ends up coming across in P2. That's a massive loss for Gosner, dropping all the way down into P8.
But interesting to watch what happened to Gosner after the contact, because it looked like he was going to come on the track behind Gary Cousins, but as we saw there, he's still off the track. So has he just not been able to find a way to get onto the track safely? If he hasn't, and he's exercise self-restraint, just deliberately stay off the track, I'll tell you what, take a bow, my friend, because that is more restraint than I would have shown. Let's watch what happened here. So he tries to go at it. I think that's fine. I don't see anything wrong there.
Yeah, that's... I feel as though I might just try and get that from the in-car view here. So if we'll just keep this here. So Mikey's just getting a little bit wide. There's a slight touch. You can see the sparks there, and the car gets unsettled as they go out.
It all depends.
Yeah.
Was Mikey making the corner? We need to see an on-bump with him, see what's happening with the steering wheel, because it all depends. Was he always going to push all the way out? In which case, you'd say that, given the rules of the GSRC, you could argue he's...
Oh yeah, he's turning all the way to the right there. So he's got a decent amount of lock in on that car. I think honestly, it's just a very unfortunate touch.
So, yeah.
If we can see it from the drone camera here. Yeah, just that touch and it unsettles the car. I mean, if you're Ryan Teagle, you are punching the air right now.
Absolutely,
but
yeah.
An unfortunate end there for Gosner.
Yeah, it was unfortunate, and unfortunately it cost him so many positions. It cost him 1 or 2, that's one thing, but to go all the way down to 8th, that's a huge dent in the points he's going to take from this round. And I believe Hammond will be round... don't know, I'm gonna stop myself saying that as I start it. But we've got Hammond taking the win in the feature race, then Teagle in second. Cousins gets promoted to the podium, stops right at the end after a very, very, very strong race and an alternate strategy to the top 2. Guy Leach in 4th, Dale Sharp in 5th, Ed Schultz in 6th, Brett Barker recovers to 7th, Gosner in 8th after that last-minute contact, Adam Lavis in 9th, and then Chris Bleakley in the final spot in the top 10. Then we've got Phil King, Sam Stride, Sam Chapman, Greg Paget, Joshua Thomas, John Baldwin, Gary Wellman, Christensen, Normanson, and Smitke did not take the grid. So a fair few drivers having incidents in that race, particularly early on, but really good all top 10 positions, and particularly the top 4. Is in change has the round 1. Mikey Hammond takes the round victory. Congratulations, Mikey Hammond. Congratulations, Teagle, who takes second, and Chapman, who takes third position off the back of the sprint race victory. Then we've got Gary Cousins, 2 strong results in both races to keep him in 4th. Gosner in 5th, Leach in 6th, Stride in 7th, Barker in 8th, Adam Lavis in 9th, Sharp in 10th. Then it's Schultz, Bleakley, King, Christensen, Paget, Thomas Wellman, and then Smitke and Normanson no points. Smitke doing race control and Normanson not taking part in the feature race and scoring no points because of a retirement in the sprint. Oof. What a couple of races to welcome back GSRC racing on a Wednesday night. Thank you for that, guys. That was an absolute pleasure to watch and to commentate on, and we're gonna bring in some of the stars from the first 2 races of the production car season into the box, starting off with Sam Chapman. Chapo, less said about the feature race, the better. Let's focus on the sprint race. How did that feel? Took pole, led from start to finish.
Yeah, I mean, that was relatively straightforward, actually, that first race. It was just got a good start, and then you could sort of manage it all from there. It was, I can't imagine you saw that, because it was all pretty plain sailing up the top there. Well, I'm sure there was a bit more action behind. So yeah, that was it was a great start. But as often is the case with most sport, it's either really love it or it bites.
Yeah, so often it's a trope of motorsport that the drivers out in front make it look easy, and it's because you're out front, particularly once you break the toe and you've got no one challenging you, you're just driving laps, and you've got no reason to push the tyres, get them harder than they need to be, go offline, no reason to do anything that you wouldn't do if you weren't just running quali sims, and so often drivers get out front and they just make the most of it, and you absolutely did that. I think you'd broken by over a second at the end of lap 1 and you just never looked back. But it was fantastic racing behind you, you are correct. So do go back and watch that, Sam. You're also running this championship, are you not, Sam?
I've put it together this season. It's one of my favourites, the production cars. Historically on the Thursdays last time we did it, but on the Wednesdays this time. So yeah, it should be a good season ahead.
And what motivated bringing the Porsche Cup in? Because out of all the cars, you'd say that's the one that sticks out as being a bit different to the other four.
That fifth car we've sort of had rotate a little bit, because we tried the Clio. Everyone, well, not everyone hated it. Chris Wiggett particularly hated it, but I think most people disliked it. We had the GT1s, but they now have their own series. Given the Porsche doesn't have its own series this season for sort of a very long time on the GSRC, I figured it could sort of have a bit of the spotlight in the production cars. Now that means I actually have to learn how to drive it, which is not such a good thing. But yeah, I think it makes sense.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good call. I thank you very much for putting the season together. It's been an excellent round one. Very much looking forward to round two. What car are we in for round two?
TCRs next week. So we'll soon set up the server. We've got to work out whether or not there's going to be Vox put on them or not. I just haven't seen how far apart the TCRs are recently at a fixed setup level. So we'll just have to have a bit of a look into it and come back on that. But what track it was. But I think from memory it should be quite a good one. It might have even been Browns or something. But yeah, so TCRs then. Members after that.
Yeah, TCRs are a bit of a blast from the past. It used to be more popular, quite popular actually, in iRacing. They've lost their lustre more recently, sort of been overtaken by the GRE6 in particular, sort of really signed the death knell of the TCRs, but good to see them being kept alive, and they still get some great racing in the TCRs. Hopefully we'll see some of that next week. So thank you very much for joining us, Chapo. Shame the feature race didn't go your way, but still got a win for second in the sprint race and still third in the championship. So good luck until next week. And will we see you in the GT4s?
Take that. Got the GT4s tonight, and I'll be on tomorrow. Good to hear your voice on the platforms of the GSRC as well.
Yeah, thank you very much. Nice to be back. Alright, we'll say goodbye to Chapo and we'll move over to Ryan Tegel, who provided us so much entertainment tonight. Thank you for that. That was a joy to watch. How did it feel from the cockpit?
Yeah, it's a wild ride. From the cockpit, if you were here with me, you'd see nothing but elbows swinging left, right, and sweat dripping, and hopes and dreams being shattered and made. It was just an insane couple of races for me.
Yeah, it absolutely was. I think you got a lot of screen time, so definitely go back and watch it, because I don't think you left the screen for most of it. Battling with Mikey Hammond for the sprint race, and then with Hammond, Gosner, Cousins in the feature race.
Yeah, I was actually a little disappointed. I thought it was going to be a much tighter battle. I just made a couple of silly unforced errors, really. But yeah, in the feature race in particular, I could see Mikey coming up, and he was right on my toe, and I couldn't shake him. And suddenly he made a mistake, and then I don't know if he intended to go and pit that lap, but he pitted a little earlier than I expected. And once he pitted, I knew I had to push hard, and thankfully I think I had a couple of lap cars that gave me just a little bit of a toe, and so I overcut him and come out in front of him again. But unfortunately, coming into this last hairpin here, as showing on screen there, I kept shifting like I think 2 or 3 laps in a row. I just couldn't find second, which really hampered my my race pace, particularly in the what do you call it, the sprint race. And yeah, initially the sprint race was going to be a Permobil locked up Sim Sports 1-2, but yeah, just silly errors by me, unforced. I didn't even brake into turn 2 into this section of the track. Yeah, just forgot to brake, so that was my sprint race.
You mentioned not being able to find second gear. Is that a product of the car or a product of your hardware? Are you running?
I'm not entirely sure. I'll have to go back and look at it. I think it's just a priority. It's a factor of just my talent, to be honest. I'm using an H-pattern gearbox. I'm not sure what everyone else is running, but I'm running a Fanatec H-pattern, and I tend to blip the throttle just to punch it into the lower gears. And I think just under pressure, I wasn't blipping it enough to pop it into second. Just, when you're under pressure, your brain thinking just brake hard and then try and find the gas, and I just forgot to blip it. So I assume that's what it is anyway.
The Fanatic H pattern does have some problems with interference.
Yeah, it does. I've found, and for anyone listening as well, what I tend to do, I've got some contact cleaner, like a spray-on WD-40 contact cleaner. Every now and then I'll open up the case and just spray some of that into some of those hard-to-reach areas, and it just cleans it up and it's back into working again. And then you can also tighten up on the left side of it. There's a little bolt that you can tighten up to try and mitigate that as well.
You can also just do what I did and whack a bunch of Ferris claws on it.
What did you do?
That resistance. Back to
okay.
On the wire.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Near where it enters the casing. Because my problem is it's on a metal. It's a bigger problem if it's on a metal frame, because that's
so does mine.
From the frame. So yeah, that works, and that's worked brilliantly. So anyway, enough hardware talk. What I did want to ask you is, you would have had a fantastic view of that battle on the final lap between Hammond and Gosner.
I was having deja vu because I did the same thing in the sprint race. Other than the fact that Sam was in first, they were also in second and third in the sprint, and I was just a second behind, just trying to get in the tow. So I had a bit of deja vu, and unlike the sprint race, I decided to channel my inner Stephen Bradbury. And although I didn't want anyone to crash, I kind of did want them to crash. So just they got a little tangled up with each other, and then and I sheepishly took second place. Of poor Reese, because he was racing so hard and so well. And I actually think out of the three of us, he had better pace than me and Mikey. So it's just unfortunate for him that he tried that move on the outside, which sometimes you can make it work. You can make it, if you can hold it line. I know Mikey did it on me, I did it on Mikey, I think, or Reese. But just got a bit unlucky on that one.
Yeah, Daniel, any questions for Ryan before we let him go after a hard-earned couple of races?
Just one, mate. How hard were you puckering when you went off going through the S's?
I went off a couple of times. It's in the one over the hill when I was in second place. Is that the one you're talking about? Or are you talking about the race start?
So you were... No, so what happens is coming here through the section that's on the screen right now, you were fighting with Reese Gosner, and you just went a little too deep. I believe those are actually your tyre tracks
that's right.
on the side there, and you basically Indiana Jones'd your way
I forgot that this car wasn't a rally car, although it handled a little bit funny with the engine, but... Yeah, I just couldn't make that the chicane there, so instead I just sort of went over straightened the wheel up and just went straight over the curves and hoped to get some sort of momentum, which luckily I did. So yeah, that was just enough just to keep me in the tow, just in case there was a little error by one of them, and thankfully that's what happened, and I managed to pick up second place. But yeah, that's right. Yeah, I just had a little bit of an adventure.
Yeah, I mean, props to you for keeping it out of the wall, though, because you're scared.
Keeping it out of the wall, and I was trying to keep the entertainment value high, you know. This car is wild fun, and this track as well. Like, this track is probably my personal favourite at the moment, because in the holiday season, I won it with the GT1s. So I actually won the race here, which I couldn't believe. And then, now I've taken second and fourth. I'm pretty happy with that.
Good.
Yeah. I would definitely say you played a integral part to how entertaining the first one.
Wow.
You know, that's the first time I've ever heard anyone use my name in a pun before, so I applaud you.
Oh boy.
Although it is said Teagle, but I'll take Teagle, that's fine.
Alright, on that, we'll let you go. Enjoy the rest of your night, buddy. Will you be racing in the GT4s or...
No, I've had a big couple of days. I can never seem to stay awake long enough to do these the feature races on each weeknight, unfortunately. So, well, I'll watch the stream later though, that's for sure.
Alright, awesome. Thanks heaps. Thanks for joining us. Enjoy your night, mate.
Thanks. And thanks so much for a broadcasted race on a Wednesday. That's really good.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's good when we can get more and more nights out to everybody. I mean, imagine if we could get every night broadcast. That would be absolutely fantastic. That's gotta be the dream. Gotta be the dream.
Yeah. It's a shame that some people have other parts of their lives they have to commit to, but it is what it is.
It is what it is. Or some people just want to race themselves. How so much of them?
Yeah, selfish races. Because I too actually quite like the Combox, but I never find myself in there.
Yeah, it is hard. It is hard. Anyway, go before we distract you again. Enjoy your night, mate.
I will. See you guys.
Alright, I believe we've got a few minutes before the GT4 start.
We do? we might just have a quick look at the upcoming rounds here for the production cars. So obviously Canadian Tire Motorsport Park is the one that we just did. So we're off to Knock Hill International Raceway, Knock Hill International Circuit rather, for round 2 of the production car. And what did Sam say the second car was? Was it the MX-5?
TCR.
TCR.
I know.
For those of you who are BTCC fans, you know exactly what to expect. Knock Hill with the famous jump in the middle of the circuit, and TCR cars, I cannot wait.
Then it is MX-5 at Laguna Seca. And then it is the Porsche Cup at Spa. And Brands Hatch will be home of the GR86s. And that will be the first run of each car. I think those cars have been well matched to those tracks. Each of those is a cracking combination. But yeah, Knock Hill TCR, that's got to be the highlight. That's going to be fantastic.
Yes, for sure. Okay. Well, since we do have a couple of times we need to transfer over to the GT4 server and get things ready, so what we might do is just have a quick run through our sponsors, or once again, they are Waste Options, Orbic Australia, M-Wave, Sprayton Insider, Lobesy Racing, and Flash Graphics. Thank you so much for your support. We couldn't do what we do at the club without people like them. I have nothing else to say. Is there anything you want to say before we take a short break?
No, except make the best use of your break, because you're not going to want to leave the screen once we come back.
Well said. All right, hang on tight. We're going for a slight breather, and when we come back, we will have GT4s at Road Atlanta. Don't go anywhere. Up next.
Welcome back, everyone. It's been a much shorter break this time round, just a couple of minutes rather than the couple of weeks that we had before. But we are back with you, and we are coming to you from Road Atlanta for the second of our series tonight, and it is the long-standing GT4 Championship. Used to be the precursor to GT3, used to be the warm-up, got bumped up to the main event last season, and it has absolutely filled its shoes and drew in the crowds. We've got 28 cars on track in qualifying, with a few more signed into the service. It's going to be a bumper field for round one of the 2024 Season B GT4 Championship. Trent Lavis will look to defend his crown, whereas others who came close last season, like Whitaker, like Adams, will try to steal it from him, but it is a packed field, so they're going to have their work cut out for them. Conditions are just about perfect. 19 degrees C, nice and cool, 90 kilometers an hour wind, which shouldn't cause too many troubles. It's definitely not no wind, but it's not super strong wind either, and this is a track that many drivers will be familiar with, but it is a track where familiarity does not always help, because it is very, very difficult. A look at that section from turn one down through to basically the other side of the circuit. It is very, very wiggly. It is all downhill, and you just buckle up and you hold on. It is very reminiscent of coming down the hill at Bathurst, except instead of walls, you've got the grass on either side, and it is somehow even more difficult, I would say. So good luck to everybody driving tonight. Alongside me still, doing co-coms and producing, is Daniel Starr, doing an absolutely fantastic job, if I might say so myself. What are you looking forward to from the GT4s this season?
I mean, they were cracking racing last season, and unfortunately they weren't broadcast because we just didn't have anybody available there. But that it's fixed this season. I will be bringing the majority, if not all, of those races. I don't know if there's a couple of dates that maybe conflict with some other events that I have going on in the real world. But in any case, we will be able to watch this fantastic series of racing here. And yes, you said that Trent Lavis would be defending his championship, but at least not today, because he is at the gym, which is why he commented there in the chat lane. So yeah, look, I think we're in for a really, really, really cracker race. Most of the time, the first race back, people are pumped, and so it'll be very curious to see just how aggressive people get with this first one here, 40 minutes at Road Atlanta.
Yeah, most aggressive in qualifying was John Merritt. He's taken pole by a whopping 0.4 of a second. That is ominous for the rest of the field. Samuel alongside him in second. Gary Cousins just behind him, backing up his strong performance in the Mustangs with a strong qualifying at GT4, and he's got Mikey Hammond doing the same on the second row alongside him. Then it's Paul Wood on the third row with Jamie Welsh, Jeff Adams in 7th, Glenn Riddell in 8th, Sharp in 9th, and Adam Lavis in 10th. In 11th is Kurt Chapman, 12th is Christensen, Baker in 13th, Ashby in 14th, 15th is Schultz, 16th is Photiadis, 17th is Samora, 18th is Piper, 19th is De Bruin, and 20th is Bradbury. Then we have Eels, Haynes, Nommensen, who's hopefully managed to fix his throttle, Colgan, Foster, Newens, Wellman, Bowman, Snadden, and McGrath. Although Snadden and McGrath haven't set the time, so we do not know whether they will take the field. Then behind them is Bullock, Beresford, and Geringe, and for those last three cars, the same applies. We do not know if they will be taking the field, as they did not set a time in qualifying. So why would a driver not set a time in qualifying? It may be that they logged in to do some practice laps, decided that they couldn't get a handle on the car, on the track, or the car-track combination before the start of the race, hadn't done any practice, cannot drive it safely, and will not take part. Otherwise, they could have decided that they could have just not got a lap in, they could have booked it up, or they could have decided that they want to start from the back of the field just for safety. Maybe they don't know the car track and they're going to learn it during the race. Use the sprint race to learn, then use the feature to really shut their stuff. Who knows? But hopefully they're on the track because we have got a bumper field. As far as I can tell, it is 29 cars long. We're full 15 rows of cars, as they come around to start finish line. Yeah, we don't do the full. Oh, we are doing the full warm-up lap.
Yeah, it does. It does seem like we're doing a full formation lap, so it'll be the last chance that these guys have to get their things in check. Just put a little bit of warmth in those tires and brakes, make sure that they are operating at optimum temperature. John Merritt, of course, with the fastest lap in qualifying, leading these guys around for the formation lap. And as you said, 29 cars on the grid. It is a huge, huge showing here for round 1 of the GT4 series at the GSRC. And I can only imagine the chaos that we're about to witness when they start this race. Road Atlanta, home of the Petit Le Mans, 10 hours, 1,000 miles. Roller coaster of a track. It is loved, it is hated, but it always produces good racing, and tonight should be absolutely no exception.
It absolutely should not be. The GT4 cars, they really lean into that, you know, slower cars are easier to race. They've got a little bit more poke than the MX-5, but not a heap, and the racing is always fantastic. Very, very easy to control, so you can really thrash them as well, and still make it to the end of the race. A few drivers here, they've been racing in these cars for years. I look at Merritt, Muir, Hammond, Riddell, the drivers that keep coming back to this car because the racing is so good, and they are some of the very fastest drivers in the club, which just proves slow cars are not just for slow drivers, slow cars are for fast drivers as well, because we all have fun when the racing is this tight. You're getting a nice little preview of what the track looks like. If you're not familiar with Road Atlanta, this will be your main overtaking opportunity through the chicane. You can try to go around the outside or the inside. Best place to try and be is on the inside as you come sweeping down this right-hander, because it takes a large set of kahunas to hold it on around the outside and make it stick as they get racing here in the opening race of the GT4 Championship. Everybody gets through the penultimate, well, the final corner, unscathed. Merritt's still in the lead with Muir behind him. Hammond launches into the podium positions right at the very start. Welsh up one position, as is Riddell, as they approach the most dangerous part of the section, this downhill. It's going to be anyone that goes too wide through here is very, very, very brave, but very, very stupid. It's generally going to be single file through there. Such is the trepidation and the respect with which you have to treat this part of the circuit. Then they'll finally hit the bottom. They'll make this left-hander from here on out. It gloves out every corner from here is an overtaking opportunity. You can get moves done through the two right-handers and then in chicane later on, as we watch Baker trying to defend from Christensen and manages to do so. Baker in 13th, Christensen in 14th, and down 2 spots to not start Christensen would have wanted so far.
So it seemed fairly clean on that race start, but it does seem as though at least one person got out here. Is Pete Foster in the Mercedes as he comes down the hill. What happens here? Too much curb? No, just gets sideways. But that is a massive hit. Oh, and takes out the SP Tools entry as well. So that is unfortunate. Oh, and there goes the other Mercedes, just managing to make it through unscathed. I believe it was Robert McGrath that was caught up in that incident. So at least 2 of those guys down towards the bottom. An unfortunate way to start the race. And have a look at the fight and the pack behind. Aiden Schultz leading a pack of Hornets as they go through turn 1. Go on, make it 4 wide, Adair.
Lavis right in the thick of it, came out quite aggressively out of the final corner, shimmied right, sent I think it was Christensen alongside him way over to the other side of the track, and then they just held the battle through the first corner. I think Adam Lavis just getting swamped a little bit. He's down 3 places from the start, so I imagine he's got it wrong somewhere in the final sector. It's put him under pressure, and cars have just been trying to swamp him, and he's getting his shoulders out just to try and get back into the pack. If you do get out of sync when the cars are this close, when you have a train like this, it can be really hard to get back onto the racing line and get your momentum back to stop yourself from being under attack. So losing 1 spot can quickly become 2, 3, 4 unless you really get your shoulders out and force your way back in. If you try and be pleasant, if you try and be polite, sorry mate, you're going to be towards the back. That is just how it rolls when you have pack racing like this. As we watch Nommensen, he is a long side Bradbury and trying to take that spot and take another step towards the top 20. I think Normanson's got a little bit more haste than he showed. He has had some hardware issues that he is battling. Hopefully those are now fixed and he can show us what he can do in this race.
Good move there, just falling in line. Bradbury having to take that 22nd spot there. You can see the Monster Energy BMW behind of Wellman. Also looking for a fight. There are a ton of battles, so bear with me here. I am only one mere man, and I have to try and monitor all the gaps. Oh, as he goes wide. Bradbury goes wide. Will rejoin in a safe manner, but down in a P27 as Mark Bowman takes a spot. So an unfortunate turn one there for Bradbury, but luckily for him, we have plenty of time to go.
Yes, he's going to have plenty of opportunities to gain positions before the end of this one. And I dare say he's going to gain a few as long as he just keeps it on track, because there is so much going on up and down this pack that there's no way all of these drivers are making it through to the end of this one. As we watch Zamora, he's in the middle of, I can't count high enough to know how to know how many cars are in that battle. It is a metric ton, let's just say, at least. As yeah, so Aaron Zamora looked like he's at the head of that battle. He's in 15th, so he's got Fatiadis and Haynes behind him. Oscar Haynes, that is. As we watch two cars going side by side a little bit further back, so that's De Bruyne. He was going side by side with Ashby coming out ahead for now. Ashby's got Piper for company. Piper in the black and purple Mercedes, really trying to put that black and red Porsche under some pressure. We now flick over to Jeff Adams, who finished third last season, had a strong season but not able to take the title. He'll hope to go one or two better this season, and he is putting pressure on Glenn Riddell. Glenn Riddell, a name that pretty much everyone who's been at the club for more than a season or two will know, because he is one of the biggest names we have. Very, very competitive in everything. He races multiple championships and just a fantastic racer. So Jeff has definitely got his work cut out to try and get past Riddell.
125.5, John Hot Lap Merritt with his namesake there. Fastest lap of the race thus far. We're only 5 minutes in. I do apologise. I started this round here saying that we were in a 40-minute race. That was actually set from the production cars. It is a 2 sprint race format here for the GT4s, and so it'll be a shorter and a longer one for race 2. So Hot Lap leading well, 2.2 seconds the gap. 0.7 seconds the gap. It's 2.2 seconds the gap from Sam Muir to Mikey Hammond there in P3. We are on board with Jeff Adams at the moment as he tries to chase down Glenn Riddell, who did have an off track earlier, but it doesn't seem to have affected him as much. And so they are racing for P6. As the gaps are starting to extend towards the back. There's still a couple of cars in a decent train. Oscar Haynes fighting Zamora there in P16, but otherwise it's starting to extend itself now.
Yeah, that opening sector through to the middle sector, it allows for a lot of pace differential. The best drivers can really strut their stuff and make time on the less best drivers behind them, and really grow those gaps. So we're just seeing that play out now, and we're seeing the cars that do end up in battles just slowing each other down and giving the cars ahead of them a bit of a break. At the front, John Merritt still leads. He's got Samuel within a second behind him, so very much still open slather for the top two. Hammond 2.5 seconds behind. If he wants to get involved in the battle for victory, he's going to need to close up at some point, but he's got Cousins and Welsh behind him, so he's got his hands full, and he'll be looking in his mirrors rather than looking forward at this stage. And then, as you said, the gap's just opening up and down the field. There's a hefty battle pack from 18th down to 28th. Feel like Neil De Bruyne is a bit of a cork in the bottle, 4 seconds behind Oscar Haynes, and everyone behind him within half a second pretty much. So I think that's what's happening there, and why we're seeing such a big battle pack when most battle packs seem to have split up. And this is Haynes. He's just trying to make it work around the outside, doesn't quite make it stick there. You get, like I said, you got to be very
puts the boot in it.
Yes, Senna does, and Samora holds on to the position.
Yeah, Haynes having to go wide there. Didn't want to try and lift up, lose too much time, so Laura goes to P16. And as you can see there on the timing tower, the white lets you know that the cars are more than a second apart from each other, and there are more and more white results populating that board. At the top end of town, nobody is within attack range at the moment. Everybody's floating within that 5 to 1 second mark, 5/10 to 1 second mark. Sam Muir is holding on to John Merritt, just barely, with a 0.7 gap there. Mikey Hammond in a little bit of an island at the moment, 2.87 seconds to P2. Gary Cousins is closing in on him there in P4, and Jamie Welch, P5, driving that Mercedes GT4, they're 1 second to him. So 8 minutes and 30 seconds down. We are just past the halfway mark here for their first race. Oscar Haynes looking to abuse the draft here. Looks to the inside. Don't think he's got the braking potential. He does not. He will have to stay in line, and Zamora holds on to that position. He himself chasing down Nick Fodiatis there in the Bailey's ladder entry BMW. Thus far, it's been a pretty, apart from that earlier incident, it's been a pretty clean race.
It has been a pretty clean race, so we've got plenty of evidence so far that the BOP for this series is about right. We've got Aston Martin up front, a Mercedes behind him, then a Porsche rounding out the top three. So three different manufacturers in the top three. We've got a BMW in 9th place, but only a few BMWs in the field. So that's Dale Sharp and then Fodiatis and Zamora. So the BMW perhaps lacking a little bit of pace. And then the first McLaren is in 17th, but they're only being driven by Haynes and Bowman. So really not enough data points from McLaren. On the evidence we've got so far, the BMW seems to be struggling around here, but the Merc, Porsche and the Aston Martin are all very, very even based on what we can see so far.
Brett Bradbury here in P2 23, chasing down Gary Wellman. Just to quite close. Bradbury almost getting a leg up on him in the first part of the circuit. Didn't quite make the move stick though. He was falling in line and using the slipstream down towards the chicane. Turn 10A and 10B as they are appropriately named. And it looks like there's a bit of a fight happening in the top 10 now. Kurt Chapman has managed to decrease that gap to 3/10, chasing Dale Sharp there in the red Bailey Ladders BMW.
He's not going to go for the top of the hill, is he? He's trying to make it too hard at the top of the hill. Pulls back out of it. Discretion about part value there, that would not have worked well. It's far too blind. Trying to make maneuvers at the top of the hill. For those that haven't driven it, you cannot see your braking marker. You are just braking on the whiff and the whim of the gods and hoping that you get it right and you make it through the corner. I cannot describe just how steep the descent is, because you're coming uphill and then you're immediately going back downhill. So it's not like you're flat and then you're suddenly going downhill, or you're going uphill and you're suddenly going flat. You're going quite steeply uphill to suddenly quite steeply downhill in the matter of a few meters. So it is intense. The cars don't like it. It upsets them greatly. It's blind. It takes a lot of skill to get through there, and that's why the very best drivers are going to make a lot of speed through there, because they're going to carry more speed at the top of the hill, and they're going to carry that through the whole way down towards Kurt Chapman. Try to go through the inside of the chicane.
Oh!
Brave from Dale Sharp on the defence. Does a fantastic job, carries plenty of speed, and Kurt Chapman is well out of it by the time they get through the chicane. Just a note on attacking through that chicane, the best thing you can do is try and make it around the outside on the entry, so you have the inside through the exit and then through the final corner. Often we see cars on the inside of the chicane, then try and hang it on around the outside through the final corner. If you're going to go around down the inside of the chicane, you need to get the move done before you get to the final corner, because it is very hard to hold on around the outside. Other than that, you need a driver on your inside who is going to let you through as soon as you start putting up a strong attack, based on what I've seen from other categories. So watch Adam Lavis in the lovely distinct green and white casual livery that he runs on all of his cars. And he is using his Mercedes to try and attack the Porsche of Tony Baker ahead of him. He's regained one of the positions he lost at the start, but still got number 2 to go to make it back into the top 10. And that's looking like a tall order from here, although he's got a nice run on Baker here.
So this will actually be a textbook example of what you were talking about. You'll notice that Adam Lavis is going to try and take on the outside here because Tony Becker's going to keep the inside. Now here is the benefit. We'll just touch on what you said a moment ago, Liam. The benefit of the inside is that you have a better runoff on the outside. You get more space, you keep more speed. The problem is you have to be able to keep the minimum speed to the inside of the corner. Otherwise, what happens is exactly what's about to happen with David Christensen. He's going to try and keep the foot to the floor here in that Porsche and see if he can take the inside. It didn't work out for him that time. So Adam Maverick will get the position there, P11, and Tony Baker will hold on to P12. So it's a 50-50 that corner. If you take the inside line, it means you can keep it more flat on the outside. You have a more runoff coming out of turn 10B. But if you take the outside of 10A, what that means is you generally can put your nose further ahead coming into turn 10B. And so you can sort of like bully your way to the front there. So it just depends on the driver's skill and whether or not the other person that you're trying to fight is as suicidal as you are. But for the most part, it is the inside line that, the outside line that you want to take on 10A to take the inside.
Jeff
line
Adams has crashed out of the race.
Now, it's interesting because I don't see an event for that. So, unfortunately, he has just disappeared. There goes the white flag message. That means John Merritt has just crossed the line for the final lap. And, unfortunately for Jeff Adams, he's out of it.
Yeah, was running well in the top 10 as well. Hopefully, he's able to get back in for the feature race. Should still be in the game server, so fingers crossed that's an option for him, but hard luck. That's not what we like to see. Don't like it when the hardware plays a part in the results of this racing. One of the beauties of sim racing is that we don't have random failures denying us what could have been great races or denying people great results, but instead of getting failures on the cars, we do get it on our hardware. So it would really just exchange one type of mechanical failure for another, as we watch Merritt, who so far has had no mechanical failures, and fingers crossed he doesn't get a hardware failure before the end of this one. Halfway around the final lap to take what would be a crushing victory. David ambitious.
Unfortunately, I think maybe he just, as you were touching on, that's a blind crest there. So if you're not paying attention to your marker, which some people use the Marshall post and the pop-up tent, some people use the tree. If you're not paying attention, that comes up real quick, and then unfortunately you get caught out, and that's exactly what happens there. But someone who didn't get caught out was John Merritt, coming across the line to take the win here for race 1 on round 1 of the GT4. Sam Muir close back and takes the fastest lap to boot with a 1:25.343 as the rest of the cars make their way across. Oscar Haynes is fighting Nick Fodiatis there, will stay ahead for P13. Zamora also looking, but there is no overtaking opportunity here before the line. It is early, so he will stay there in P15. And the only other battle right now is Greg Colgan, who might look to try and dive in the inside here of Bowman. As Bowman goes a little wide, that's going to work in Colgan's favour. Whether or not he can make it, the rejoin works for the McLaren. He's going to try and shoot up on the inside. It looks like there's new ones there as well. Oh, well done. Colgan got it. That was a crazy shot to the line.
That was some incredible racing at the end there. That rejoin was a little bit interesting. So Colgan, you can see him just really hug the inside, really try and shorten. Man, oh damn. Really, I take it back, he did not shorten at all. He ran all the way out to the curb. Carried so much speed through there, and Hammond, we should mention Mikey Hammond getting the final spot on the podium, and seems to have a lot of support in the chat room. And thank you to everybody in the chat room for joining us tonight. And yeah, Hammond having a banner night at the moment, getting another podium. One more and he'll be able to clean sweep the night, won't he, with podiums?
Yes, I believe that's the case, yeah.
That should be a fantastic effort from him. So here are your results from race 1. John Merritt started in the lead, never looked back. Samuel did a really good job to keep up with him, but not able to get an overtake and finishes in second. Hammond takes the last spot on the podium. He's got Gary Cousins behind him, so he's been in the top 5 throughout the whole of tonight. Jamie Welch is in 5th, Glenn Waddell in 6th, Wood in 7th, Sharp in 8th, Kurt Chapman in 9th, and then Schultze in 10th. Just outside the top 10 is Lavis, not able to recover from those positions he lost at the start. Then it's Tony Baker in 12th, Oscar Haynes up 9 spots to get 13th. Fantastic race from him. Photiadis in 14th, Samora in 15th, Piper in 16th, De Bruyne in 17th, Ashby in 18th, Nommensen in 19th, and then Snadden in 20th.
Alright, so 3 minutes of warm up here for our GT4 drivers before they jump back on track for the final race of the night. That is a 18 lap race around here at Road Atlanta. Reverse grid top 10, I should say, which means that it'll be, if I remember correctly, I do not, so I'm going to cheat and load the results. So that'll mean that Aiden Schultz will start at the front and Kurt Chapman will start alongside him with Dale Sharp, Paul Wood, Riddell, Welsh, Cousins, Hammond, Muir and Merritt in P10. As we wait, let's have a look ahead to the GT4 calendar. We start at Road Atlanta. Round 2 takes us to the Imola International Autodrome. Round 3 from Motorland Aragon. And have a look at round 4. You are not mistaken. That says what it says. Nürburgring, Gesamtstrecke, 24-hour layout. So, if there was at least one, you should be watching all the races here on the GSRC platforms, but if there was at least one you had to watch, it's going to have to be the GT4 and the GT3s around the 24-hour layout of the Nürburgring.
Yeah, I do hope that is one of the nights that you are available for the broadcast.
I'll make myself available.
I'll say that is going to be absolutely spectacular. I think every series should have the Nordschleife personally as one of the rounds, but that's me. I'm slightly insane. Just confirming what Daniel said about the grid, we've got Schultze on pole with Chapman alongside him. Then we've got Sharp and Wood on the second row, Riddell and Welsh on the third, Cousins and Hammond on the fourth, Muir and Merritt going to have to work their way through on what is a difficult track to overtake if they want to go back to back for the podium tonight. Lavis finished just outside the top 10, so he will start in 11th. Baker in 12th, Haynes in 13th. It'll be interesting to see whether he can continue to make the sort of progress that he made in race 1. Then you got Photiadis in 14th, Samara in 15th, Piper in 16th, De Bruyne in 17th, Ashby in 18th, Nommensen in 19th, and Snadden in 20th. Behind them, we have Brett Bradbury in 21st, Christensen on 22nd, Isles in 23rd, Colgan in 24th, Newens 25th, Bowman 26th, Foster behind him with Adams alongside. Hopefully his PC stays in it for the whole race this time. And then we've got Wellman in 29th and McGrath in 30th. As the safety car pulls away, we'll get another full lap. It's going to be interesting to see how those fast cars are towards the back of the top 10. I'm thinking in particular Merritt, Muir and Hammond. How they get through the pack could make a huge difference to how their feature race plays out. If Hammond or Muir can break away, make 4 or 5 spots right at the start and leave someone like Merritt with more positions to make up later on in the race, it could be enough to give them the edge and get the victory here. We saw Muir able to live with the pace of Merritt but not able to get past. Now those positions are reversed. Can Merritt do the overtaking? Going to be very, very hard to go for a double podium here, but certainly those 3 drivers did break away at the front of the field, not by huge amounts, but there was a definite gap there, so it's going to be interesting to see what they can do in this one.
And keep in mind that there will be a pit strategy to deal with in this one as well, so that will throw a wrench in the works. I have no doubt that some of these fast guys here that are starting up obviously at the back towards P10 are going to carve up the field in front of them, but it won't be a cakewalk. There will be some effort, and not only will they be battling each other for those positions, but of course the people that they have to overtake ahead of them as well. So Aiden Schultz is going to probably be a little bit nervous when he looks in that mirror and sees some of the names coming up behind him, but he can handle his own. And so can some of the other guys at the front. Adam Lavis is most likely going to Oh no, sorry, I've seen the wrong car. It's Paul Wood that's up the front there. Adam Lavis actually in P11 at the moment. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this develops. But we wait on Aiden Schultz to arrive to the final set of corners. We wait for the pace car to come in, and then we will be able to kick off the final race of the night. 18 laps here at Road Atlanta. The first race was a cracker. I can only imagine the second will deliver as well.
If I am one of those cars towards the front of the top 10, I'm feeling very, very nervous at the start of this race, particularly as we approach the hill, because they're going to be taking it slower, just hoping that the cars behind adjust correctly for the fact that the cars ahead probably are not going to carry the amount of pace that they are used to through that series of corners. And Aiden Schultz gets a cracking start. Chapman decent behind him. Sharp struggles along with Welsh. Welsh getting past Sharp as far as I can tell on the timing screens. Are going too wide into the first corner. That's brave. He's going to make it stick around the outside. Welsh up 2 positions already into 4th spot. He wants to make a move and become one of the leaders in this race. Before too long, we see Muir going side by side with Gary Cousins there. Looks like he's able to get past. Merritt already got past Muir. He's up 2 positions. Hammond up 1. So it is Hammond, Merritt, and then Muir of those who got a podium last race. Schultz, Chapman, and Pullwood in the actual podium positions so far on lap 1. As we watch Schultz under a lot of pressure from Kurt Chapman. Merritt looking to go around the outside of Hammer Time. That'll be brave. No, Tuck's back inside. He's going to make a move a little bit later on in the lap, and he's got Samuel in a distinctive purple livery right behind him. And that,
no, Sharp
holds on to it, loses a few positions, so he's dropped down into 9th. That's 6 positions lost so far on the first lap for him. Not the start he wanted. Merritt with a brilliant run, pulls alongside Hammer Time, and that will be job done.
That'll be teamwork there. Glenn Riddell putting the defence there on Mikey Hammond, boxing him in. Mikey Hammond had nowhere to go. Merritt obviously in conversation there with Riddell, managed to go on the inside. Now they go sideways.
That was Samuel and Mikey Hammond. Muir on the inside of Hammond. Hammond didn't leave any space. Be interesting to see how far alongside each of them were and whether there was room and title there or not. But what we know for sure is Hammond is out of the running for the win unless he could pull something marvellous from here. Might go for an early pit stop and just get himself a clean air.
It looks like Hammond did turn a little bit too aggressively there. Samuel was definitely alongside. So that's an unfortunate one for him. His penalty would be, of course, that now he's all the way down in P27, so not a great one. Actually, he might even lose that based on how they're going through that corner. No, he holds on to it. Whoa, as the BMW goes for an adventure. And luckily, with the iRacing patch, of course, to the physics, you can now save yourself, because once upon a time, that was not the case. If you went off there, you had...
Glenn Riddell has crashed.
Oh, you are correct.
He is absolutely plummeted down the timing screens. That's another one of the favourites out of this race.
Inside curb. Yeah. Oh, that's huge! Oh, that is absolutely huge. Now, it came up with a second crash warning. I wonder if maybe on the rejoin he got caught out. No, it seemed fine. I just want to jump on board on that again. Have a look at the back of this car. Oh my lord.
Absolutely huge. Can't believe he's been able to keep going actually in the driving it back around to pit lane rather than taking the tow. That's going to save him a lot of time. And of course everybody does need to pit on this, and they do have a fast repair. So whoever to get that repaired, get out into clean air and try to effect an overcut on as many cars as he can. But that has blown this wide open. John Merritt is in 6th place. He's looking good. Sam Muir's looking good in 5th place. But if you are anybody in the top 8 cars right now, I think you've got a shot at winning this race, because we've seen some very strong drivers take themselves out of the running. Paul Wood, he's a strong driver. He's gone very well in GT3 previously, winning the amateur championship. Strong in the GT4s as well. He's in 3rd place right now. He's got Welsh behind him, a name I don't recognise, but driving very, very well so far today. He's in 4th spot. Dale Sharp back down to 9th. I saw somebody else dropping down the order. Looks like Tony Baker, John Ashby may have been involved in an incident, because they're dropping down the order. Linus Stern, that's promoted Hammer Time, Eels and Foster up another position. And Glenn Riddell looks like he's actually continued, not pulled into pit lane. He's running in 21st right now, 1.95 seconds behind Oscar Haynes, who's undone a lot of the hard work he put in last race and down 7 spots so far.
Ooh, deep there from Wood. can't quite get it done. Schultz is going to hold on to P2 for now. Oh, but he gets a switchback marvelously. Going down towards the final turn, and he gets it done. P2 for Paul Wood, and have a look at Welsh. He might even take the spot there from Aiden Schultz as well. Look at Sam Muir, had a massive run. Now he's trying to look, but unfortunately 3-2 does not go, so he will have to hold back as John Merritt is also there. Takes the fastest lap here on lap 4, 1:25.73. Oh boy, are we cooking now.
Yeah, that looked an awful lot like it was Merritt, Muir and Schultz going almost 2, maybe even 3 wide at the top of their hill. Massive bravery and skill on display from all 3 to get through there cleanly without giving anyone an inch. And at the moment it is Chapman, Wood, Welsh, then Schultz, Muir and Merritt, and that is one battle pack. You can see right there in your screen the lead of this race. This is the back of the battle pack, which is Merritt. He's got Gary Cousins behind him, not far behind, looking to turn this into a 7-way battle. Keep your eyes on the screen because these top 6 is going to swap and change even before we take into account that we have got 20 minutes more of this race and a set of stops just to throw spanners in the works.
Dale Sharp and Adam Lavis trading places there momentarily. P8 now for Lavis. 3 positions gained from the start of this race. The biggest mover thus far is both Jeff Adams and Robert McGrath. 9 positions gained each. Sam Muir manages to make the overtake there on Aiden Schultz. He moves up into P4 now. That's 5 positions gained for the 1-9 driver. And John Merritt will also make the pass. Schultz now down into P6. An valiant effort from him from the start of this race, but unfortunately getting caught out. So 5 positions lost for him. Paul Wood still attacking well there in P2. Wasn't close enough to try and make the same maneuver that he did on Schultz into turn 10A. So he will have to just fall behind. And Welsh also doing well here, just maintaining that 5/10 gap. And Adam Lavis is at the back end of that 4.6 seconds to this front battle pack. So he has a lot of work to do. Maybe he can try and bring that up closer with the pit stops as they resolve. I'm not too sure when the pit stops would occur. If I had to guess, I'd say around lap 11, but I'm not too familiar with the GT4s and how they run. So time will tell. We can see a couple of people already coming in, but that is due to incidents. We had actually a couple there, John Ashby, Brett Bradbury, and Gary Wellman all being involved in one incident or another. So nothing, no
meaningful pit stops as of yet. And I'll tell you what, if you're Mikey Hammond after that incident, you're rubbing your eyes right now because all of a sudden you've got Glenn Riddell as the next car on track again. So Hammond will be very confused as to how that's happened and how they found themselves battling for 21st and 20th instead of in the top 10. But there you go. It's funny how these things work out sometimes. John Merritt, Samuel, actually the fastest man on track at the moment, 125.3 on the last lap, which was the fastest of the race. So he's looking to make a move in the top 5. He's got Merritt pushing him along right behind him. Merritt doing almost an identical lap times at the moment. In this battle pack of the top 5, the 2 fastest guys in it are at the back, and that is Muir and Merritt. Not a surprise, but it'd be interesting to see if any of them decides to pull the trigger and try and get into some clean air early on. Of course, the interesting thing is we have ended up quite spaced out here, so I'm not sure if there's a gap for any of these drivers to drop into yet and be confident that they're going to have free running and going to be able to run. Because if you do catch someone slower behind you, if you're taking another pit stop, it's just going to ruin that strategy completely because it's so hard to overtake. And that's evidenced by the fact that Riddell and Hammond are still behind Adams. They've got way more pace, but they cannot get past them because Adams and Colgan are having their own fight, and Riddell and Hammond are just going to have to sit patiently and wait for an opening, and it has not come to them yet. So they have not made much progress since their crashes as well. Paul Wood, the late dive down the inside, almost had to do it because he was just later on the brakes. Gonna hold it outside, gets into the dirt.
Not good.
Has to get out the throttle. That's no good.
That's not good. That's going to cost him. Yeah, that's going to cost him huge. That's going to allow Welsh to go up on the inside. Same with Muir, and you'll see that Merritt will most likely try and make an attack going up onto the blind part of the hill. We'll just jump on board with Merritt and see if that happens. Paul actually did the smart thing there and just let him by slightly. Maybe I've got that wrong. It looks like he's going to try and fight him all the way up to the crest. This will work out for Paul. If he can hold it, well done, sir. He will hold on to P4 for now, and John Merritt will have to fall back. So this is going to be unfortunate for Merritt because he was trying to, his tag partner in this race, for all intents and purposes, is Sam Muir, and he has now got a car between himself and that target. Schultz, with all of that, actually managed to bring up that gap. He was 1.6 back. He is now up to within 1 second there. That is the Porsche to the left-hand side of your screen. And so Kurt Chapman leads this race. Welsh in P2, Sam Muir in P3, Paul Wood doing well to recover from that slight mistake in P4. And the battle pack now extends to P7 as it did once before, but the gap to Adam Lavis has increased to 5.2 seconds.
Interestingly, just further down in the pack, Riddell has taken his pit stop, and I would hazard a guess that that is a scheduled pit stop. I think he's decided he can get to the end from here. He knew he wasn't making much progress through the pack. He didn't quite have the delta required to actually make overtakes when there's multiple cars ahead of him all battling as well. So he's decided to take an early pit stop, try and go for the overcut. Be interested to see if that works on the cars. It's not going to bring him into this battle, but it might get him ahead of a bunch of the cars that he was battling. Mikey Hammond is the one to watch because they were line astern when he made the pit stop. So depending on how he works out with Mikey Hammond, we'll know whether that was the correct move or not, as we're watching some amazing racing for the lead. That's Sam Muir going down the inside at turn 1, trying to get it done. That's not where you want to be, though, on the outside of 2 towards the top of the hill, and no, he has to tuck in behind him. So at the moment, we have got Kurt Chapman in the lead, then it's Muir, then it's Wood, then it's March, then it's Merritt. And this is not what Merritt would have wanted. He would not want cars between him and Muir. He knows Muir is probably the fastest of this group, and now he has got 2 cars between him and Muir. And Muir gets it wrong at the bottom of the hill. There's contact. He goes out wide. He should be able to rescue it from there. He won't ever appreciate the contact, but I don't think there was any avoiding it because he got it wrong. And now all of a sudden Merritt is going to get ahead of Muir if he can hang on around the outside. Muir's going to try and go down the inside. Muir will have a better positioning for this corner. Gets it done. As long as he's got good traction out of it, which he has not, then he'll hold in position for Merritt. Merritt's got better traction. Merritt's going to have him down to the chicane, I imagine. And not only that, he might lose out to Schultz. No, the two of them have tucked in closer to each other, shut down the space for Schultz. And now Merritt's going to have the inside for the chicane, but because of the side draft, that run hasn't really materialized. And in fact, no, Muir has to brake earlier there, and Merritt goes up the inside, and then Brett blocks him on the exit of the chicane. Job done for Merritt. He's ahead of Muir now, and now Schultz is going to try and get past Muir, and Muir dives. He becomes the first of the leaders to dive into pit lane, activate the pit strategy. He is going for an undercut. He must have found a gap that he thinks he can get into, and he's going to back himself to lap faster than these guys and get ahead. Now this is a crucial lap for Merritt. He knows if he doesn't get a optimal lap here, it's going to put him effectively behind Muir. He needs a good lap, get into the pits and get ahead of Muir, or he needs to break free, get ahead of Paul Wood, get in some banging lap time so he can get ahead of Muir, because now there is a phantom battle between the two of them. Kurt Chapman, he's broken away from this pack. They've all been fighting. A bunch of them didn't get good runs out of the double right-hander at the end of the last lap, and that's allowed Chapman to get a 2.5 second lead, so he's looking really good as Merritt dives down the inside, gets the move done on Paul Wood, which is exactly what he needed. Now he needs to hold it when he gets to the chicane, then we're cooking with oil.
Yeah, Sam Muir just mitigating the loss there. That mistake going up the hill, very easy to make. There's a lot of runoff on the side of turn 5, but it unsettles the car, and so unfortunately for him, he just made that slight mistake. Merritt managed to capitalize. We'll see if the undercut does work out for him, as John Merritt currently running P2 there. So Paul Woods managed to hold on really well there, staying P3, and Welsh dropping down to P4. We can see Paul Wood actually going into the pits there. So 8 lap 9. That seems to when people are pulling the trigger. John Merritt will go at least one more time round. So once he comes into the pits, we'll see where he and Muir settle. Adam Lavis doing a good job. He has now brought down the gap. 3 seconds is all it takes. But the real winner here is Kurt Chapman. All of that fighting, he got away clean. 2.3 seconds down the road. So if he can just drive steady, he should have a decent advantage to the end of the race. 8 laps to go here at Road Atlanta. And just having a look at these gaps now.
Sam Muir coming out ahead of Paul Wood. That is crucial because Paul Wood and Sam Muir were very close to each other on track when Sam Muir pitted. So far his strategy is working. However, he has only got 1.6 seconds to Brett Bradbury ahead. So he'll be desperately hoping that Brett and Colgan ahead of him both pit and give him clean road. If he doesn't, and the cars at the front of this pack, front of this race even, decide to stay out and extend their stints, that could be bad news for Sam Muir if he starts getting held up. But at the moment, that strategy is working. Now, because Sam Muir has pitted, we also have a reference for what is going on with two of our other big names, Riddell and Hammond. They are going to jump some cars in this pit cycle, but not enough to get themselves involved in battle towards the front. They are 10 and 13 seconds behind, 10 to 13 seconds behind Sam Muir. It's 13 right now, so that is quite a distance. So all those cars that are in that top pack, and probably the second and third pack, are going to come out ahead of Riddell and Hammond. So they have not been able to use their pace. They have not been able to recover. A top 10 result would be the best that they can hope for right now, and I think that is looking very unlikely from what I am seeing on my timing screen. And we're going to get more data points now. Kurt Chapman, he's pitted from the lead of the race, leading Merritt with plenty of clean track, and he's making best use of that to the fastest lap on the last lap at 1 minute 25 dead. So he is bringing back in that deficit to the likes of Sam Muir, and Kurt Chapman comes out ahead of
well done.
Comes out ahead of Colgan, which is absolutely crucial. So now Chapman has got 10.5 seconds of clean run in front of him. There it is on your screen. Fantastic camera work from Daniel showing you. Kurt Chapman's got plenty of grey stuff to drive into, as does John Merritt out front. Sam Muir, he is now caught behind Colgan and Bradbury. So I think what we are seeing is this battle for the victory here become a battle between Kurt Chapman, John Merritt and Welsh. I don't think anyone else that has pitted is in this because of Colgan being in between them. So unless Muir, who's now got past Bradbury, can get past Colgan very, very quickly, he's going to be driving himself out of the race. There's time yet, but he's got a lap or two before he makes his job very, very difficult.
Bale Sharp shoots into the pits as well. John Merritt still out on track. He did a 125.175 that last lap. It is not considered the fastest lap of the race because he had an off track, but he is flying, so he may just have the pace needed to come out in front of Muir once his pit stop resolves. Time will tell, but he's doing a great job thus far. Aiden Schultz doing well to keep onto the back of Welsh. Had a rocky start, led this race due to the reverse grid top 10, lost a bunch of positions, and has now worked his way back up to P3. So holding strong, good job from him. Adam Lavis, P4, 7 positions gained from the start of this race. We know how strong Lavis is when it comes to fuel saving. He has shown it time and time again, and he will put that knowledge to good use here tonight. Daniel Piper in P6, Dane Snadden in P7. Let's have a look at the amount of pit stops that have been done by our drivers. So everyone in the top 8 is yet to stop. Kurt Chapman is the leader of those who have. So that was a really good early stint for him, and was very, very lucky to pull out in front of Colgan there to maintain that gap between himself and Muir. But the gap is not large, it's only 0.4, and Muir will be pushing harder and harder to try and get past. Bradbury and Colgan have yet to stop, so they are written out of there, and it looks like Paul Wood down. Everybody else has pulled in.
Yeah, really crucial point you've touched on there, Samuel. I said he needed to get past those back markers. He has done that. He has passed Bradbury. He has passed Colgan. I think Colgan had a bit of a mistake because he dropped back behind Muir and Bradbury. So Muir is now right behind Kurt Chapman. They can run at the same pace. They can both run at a very, very good pace.
Oh, look at the exit.
He's got a fantastic run here. Muir's on the inside, and as we've seen, the inside is where you want to be. Coming into the final corner, he's going to get past Chapman here.
Yeah, well done.
Chapman's not going to fight it too hard, I don't think, unless he thinks he can come back at him in the first corner. Has got more pace through the final corner, but Muir's got the inside line, and that's where you want to be coming up the top of the hill. So now we have a straight out fight between Muir and John Merritt, who has come out in the lead. So Merritt has come out ahead of Muir. He's got a second on Muir, just shy. He has and they're going to get past those back markers. So the field is starting to look cleansed. We've got Daniel Piper. He's the only one yet to stop now, and this running order is the true running order, ignoring Piper. So we've got Merritt in third. He's got a second over Muir. He's got Kurt Chapman just behind him. We just saw the overtake. Then there's Paul Wood is in fifth. Cousins is in Paul Wood is effectively in fourth. Cousins in fifth. Welsh in sixth. Basically shove everyone up a position. That's where they are. Adam Lavis has brought himself deep into the top 10. His strategy has worked really well for him. So he's battling with Welsh, and he might be on for a top 5 if he can get to the front of his current battle pack, which includes Cousins, Welsh, Lavis and Photiadis. Then you got Schultz at the back of the top 10 with Snadden pressuring him for the final spot in the top 10, and then there's a couple of larger gaps behind him. As for Hammond and Riddell, they've come out in 16th and 17th once everything's shaken up. If they want to get to the top 10, they're going to have to work really, really hard for it. I don't think it's on from now on. It's just seeing how close they can get before the end of the race, and a bit of pride between the two of them, as Riddell and Hammond, they're literally side by side as I speak, because they are swapping. They're swapping on the timing screen.
And we'll just have to touch on that pit stop from John Merritt. So this is how significant that his run was once Sam Muir came in. John spent 10.78 seconds in that pit on his pit box. Sam Muir 9.63. That is almost a second difference. Sam Muir had 1 second higher in the pit stop, but John Merritt managed to put so much speed in the next couple of laps before he came in that he came out with a 1.3 second gap. So John Merritt is absolutely punching it right now. Sam Muir seems to be on par in terms of the pace, but maybe that mistake has shaken the core a little bit. Kurt Chapman is starting to drop back. He really was there in the attack range. He is now dropping back significantly. Paul Wood might even be able to catch up that time and look for the third step on that podium. Adam Lavis exiting there in P7, so a good job from him. Welsh there in P6. And having a look down the grid, so Dane Snadden and David Christensen and Jeff Adams, all with 10 positions gained thus far in the race. And the biggest loser, of course, is Glenn Riddell with that early problems, down 11 positions, currently running in P16. So 4 laps to go here at Road Atlanta. Race 2 of the GT4 round 1 of the GSRC. And as it stands, John Merritt leading the pack.
Yes, he is. I think we missed not long ago a mistake for Photiadis. I saw him lose 3 or 4 spots in quick succession, so I don't think it was a huge one, but enough for him to be shut out. It could even have just been a tie battle pack and he just lost out. But I did see his name tumbling also down the order.
24-8 there from John Merritt.
That is incredible, absolutely incredible. First man to dip below the 125s. He's absolutely sticking the knife into Samuel, saying, don't even think about trying to catch me. You do not have my pace. We saw in the first race, Muir just about able to keep up with him using the toe. The toe is broken here. I don't think Muir's quite got the pace of Merritt. I think there's about 2 tenths between them, and it's just enough for Merritt to take a small but decisive advantage, play the strategy well, and now he has 2.3 seconds ahead of Samuel, so he can afford a small mistake, and he's not going to lose the lead. Behind Muir is Chapman. Chapman's hanging in their game lead, but I think again that is because of the toe. Don't think it quite has the raw pace of Muir. If you look at the last lap time, half a second between them, so Chapman doing a very good job to even stay in touch. 2 seconds down to Wood, 3 seconds down to Cousins. He's got a good battle pack forming there. He's in 5th place. He's got Welsh behind him, and then Adam Lavis. Photiadis was in that battle pack, fell out of it, had a 1 minute 30 laps, lost 4 or 5 seconds in his mistake. As we're watching Schultz and Piper go side by side. Piper's on the inside, Schultz on the outside. You can tell it's Schultz because he's got a nice bright what should we call that? Green, yellow, up to you. Dealer's choice livery, and he's now got Snadden trying to get involved. Snadden in 10th, but thinking he could turn this into 8th spot with a bit of clever driving here, but it's going to be hard to get past Schultz and Piper.
I'd say neon. I'm thinking neon.
It's sports drink colour, isn't it?
That's exactly what it is. It is sports drink colour. That has Maximus written all over it. So, as you said, Schultz fighting well here. Actually, Dale Sharp, having that earlier off, has managed to bring it up here to fight for the top 10. He's only 0.4 behind Dane Snadden there. And David Christensen is closing the gap as well, 1.5 back to P12. So, with only a handful of laps to go, John Merritt really does seem to have this in the bag. 2.4, the gap between himself and Muir, and the pace is not even close. Last lap there for John Merritt was a 125.0. Sam Muir, 125.7. That is significant. Aiden Schultz is trying to hurry up this Mercedes down the back straight, running towards turn 9. Schultz might actually have the speed advantage as they come down through, but the problem is that you have to get your braking marker right in order to keep your nose ahead when you go through 10B. Actually, he just gets given the spot flat out, but he messes up the brake marker. He might have the advantage on the inside here. I'm not too sure. Dale Sharp will give him a hurry up as well. Dane Snadden will lose out the position. So a good job there from the Bailey Ladders BMW. Oh, as we see the McLaren just taking a little bit of liberty there with the word track limit. And there it goes, the pressure.
Piper off. He saw going into the chicane. Piper saying, I don't want any of this battle, Schultz. You go ahead. Schultz then got excited. Carried too much speed into the chicane, went deep, meant that the battle was
who is that? Oh my lord. That is Paul Wood coming down the S's.
Drove a fantastic race right up until that moment. One small mistake, got on the curb, couldn't save it, car into the wall, night over. Nice to see your Wood, but sadly, you're not going to be finishing this one. That is absolutely heartbreaking for him, because he had
unfortunate.
Really strong first race, really strong second race, and so close to the end. It's hard to watch for any racer. What it does do is it promotes another driver into the top 5. So now Lavis is in 6th place, top 5 within sniffing distance. Going to have his work cut out to actually make that final step, though. Dale Sharp's dropped a position because he's been overtaken by Dane Snadden. So Snadden's now in 7th, up 13 spots. Fantastic race from Snadden. Christensen matching him. He's in 9th spot, also up 13. If he can do what Snadden just did and get past Sharp, he'll take the title for most positions gained, or if it was F1, the Driver of the Day award. aka the Poor Qualifying Award. And then we've got Jeff Adams also up 13 spots. So there's 3 cars in the battle for the most positions gained. Jeff Adams hoping that his computer makes it to the end, but so far so good for him. And not much happening at the front. 2.5 seconds between Muir and Merritt, Chapman and Muir. 5 seconds between Cousins. Cousins having a very, very solid race in P4 at the moment. But then we've got a wonderful battle pack from 7th down to 10th, which is almost a battle pack from 7th down to 15th, because there's not much to choose between any of the cars there. Instead, we're going to watch John Merritt as he rounds the chicane for the final time. Only the fast, sweeping right-handed to go. He flashes in lights. He's been absolutely dominant here. Won the sprint race, wins the feature race. Fantastic. Samuel in 2nd, and then Kurt Chapman finishes in 3rd. We wait a few seconds, and then we get Welsh and Levis crossing the line, and now we get Snadden leading that battle pack with Sharp behind him, then Christensen, then Schultz, then Piper, then Fodialis, then Oscar Haynes, then Zamora and Adams close in behind him. Bit of a gap before we get to Neil De Bruyn as he crosses the line. Now we've got another 10 seconds to wait for Robert McGrath. Then it'll be Glenn Riddell recovering all the way to 18th, then Colgan, Eels and Nguyen, with Hammond finishing a lap down in 22nd. Good racing right to the end. Really fascinating pit stop strategy. Really fascinating cycle. Didn't know who was going to hop out ahead. And then, of course, we just saw that devastating pace from John Merritt as soon as he was able to get into clean air. And from there, he never looked back. Always looked like he was in danger of doing that as he came through the pack, as everyone pitted ahead of him. Did well on fuel, saved a bit of extra fuel so he could effect that overrun and did it to perfection. So he wins the race. Muir is in 2nd. Kurt Chapman gets the final step on the podium. Then it's Cousins in 4th, Welsh in 5th, Lavis in 6th, Dane Snadden in 7th, Sharp in 8th, Christensen in 9th, and Schultz a well-deserved spot in the top 10 ahead of Piper, ahead of Fotiadis. Then there's Oscar Haynes, who made a lot of overtakes across both races but finishes in 13th. Zamora in 14th, Jeff Adams, who finally finishes the race in 15th, De Bruyn in 16th, McGrath in 17th, Riddell getting it wrong earlier on, he's recovers to 18th, Colgan in 19th, Eels in 10th. And then behind him, I believe it is Mikey Hammond. Shane Newens in 21st, Hammond in 22nd. There we go. Shane Newens 21st, Wood in 22nd, Bowman in 23rd, Hammond in 24th in the end, Foster in 25th, Nommensen in 26th, Bradbury 27th, Lennox Baker, Ashby, Wellman, Bullock, Bransford, and Gorringe were all retirements or did not take part in the race. We have a single driver at the moment waiting for us at the green room. Before we get to him, let's give it the championship standings. Merritt wins the round. Fantastic from him. Muir in second, strong in both races. Cousins in third, Welsh in fourth, Chapman in fifth, Sharp in sixth, Lavis in seventh, Schultz in eighth, Riddell in ninth, and Mikey Hammond in 10th. Very, very close behind him, we've got Haynes, Photiadis, Studden, Piper, Wood, Samora, Christensen, Bruin, Baker, and Adams. Points don't mean too much right now, only one race in, but as we go through and add more points to that tally, it's going to become more and more meaningful. And then we have the fun of the drop rounds and trying to figure out how they're going to affect the championship. But before that, we're going to hear from two of the key men in this race, Kurt Chapman and Jeff Adams, and we're also going to bring in Kurt Nommensen. We'll speak to Kurt first. So Kurt, while you were leading the race for a little while in your Aston, but not able to hold on and run quite at the pace of the likes of Muir in the end.
Yeah, I was more than happy leading the race, but I knew I didn't have the pace of those top guys to keep up there, so I was just trying to keep out the front, keep them at bay until I had to pit and then go full ball from there.
Yeah, you did a really good job because you started in second place, finished in third in the feature, so you went from ninth in the sprint to a podium in the feature, which is it's got to be what you were aiming for at the start of the race, right?
Yeah, 100%. The reverse grid races are not so good when you're outside of the 10, but way better when you're in the 10, especially for someone who's a little bit off pace like myself.
So is that a feeling you relish of being at the front of the race, even though you're not quite as fast, knowing you can learn from the big boys, or do you find it a little bit stressful knowing you've got faster cars behind you?
It's definitely a little bit stressful, like at the start of the race, but as the race progresses and people start shifting around, you get to learn a few things off the faster boys, and you try and implement them during the race.
And do you feel that you're able to do that here? The evidence would suggest you did it.
Yeah, I was getting pretty quick lap times after my pit stop, and I didn't put tyres or anything on after the pit stop, so following Sam would have helped me a bit.
Yeah, I'm just having a quick look through the lap times, and I think you had the third or fourth best time. So your third place was definitely on merit on pace in regards of peak lap time, so you definitely found some in that feature race. I think you should be really happy with that performance.
Yeah, that's really good news to hear, actually.
Any particular battles you enjoyed out there?
That first one I had, I can't remember who was behind me, but when I was out in front, someone was contesting for second, and I was able to keep them at bay for a fair few laps, and it felt like, it really made me happy and brought up my confidence.
Yeah, that would have been Aiden Schultz there that you can see, that's fluoro yellow Porsche.
Yeah, he done pretty good himself, didn't he?
Yeah, finished in 10th in the end.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, right.
But a decent race from Schultz. He's a very, very accomplished racer, very good in the wheel to wheel. So you did well to keep him behind.
Yeah, I noticed he was going for some good moves, and I think he made a move once or twice. But yeah, the rest of it was really fun.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you very much for joining us in the comms box, and best of luck for next week. But we'll move on now and just start getting through the drivers, because we've got a few in the box already, and we may get a few more yet. So thanks very much for your time, Kurt. Lovely to hear from you, and best of luck for the next race.
Thanks, guys.
Right, so we'll move on now to Jeff Adams. Jeff, you finished the race, first and foremost.
Yeah, that was really good. Yeah, thanks, Daniel and Liam, for doing the comms and everything for us. It's been a great race. It was a bit disappointing that my computer crashed on me on on the first race. I was in the top 10. I was in 7th. It would have put me in a really good position for the second race.
Yeah, it certainly would have, but you still recovered pretty well in the end from 28th to 15th. Do you think there's anything more in there, or do you think you pretty much maximised that feature race?
I think that was about it for me. I think I was in the position. I wasn't really too stressed. I knew where I was. I didn't want to take anybody else out in the race. Unfortunately, something happened there, and I can't remember what lap it was. I was trying to keep my nose clean. I didn't want to ruin anyone else's race. But yeah, fortunately we come together. I think he come across my nose. I'm not sure who it was, but I think I was up the outside and then up on the inside here, this corner here, and yeah, it just sort of cut across me. I tried to stay close on the inside, but I'm not sure who it was. I just want to apologise. I didn't. There was nothing else in it, and I didn't mean to do it. That's half the reason why I jumped on here. I really didn't want to ruin anyone's night.
No, nobody does. But with a track like this with 30 cars on it, there's always going to be some people who end up in a little bit of contact, and it's just one of those things that happens in racing, right? But nice of you to come on and apologise and make it clear that it was just an accident and you're not really sure what happened. Be good to get a chance to look at the replay if you can and figure out exactly what happened. I just want to talk a little bit about what your goals are for this series, because it's hard to pick your pace because you didn't finish the races. And you look like you're going to have a good starting spot for the feature race had you finished the sprint, but you didn't. So where are you aiming in this season, in this series? Are you aiming for sort of top 20, top 15, top 10?
Well, I came third in the last season, and yeah, so I'm aiming to be at least top 5. That'd be nice, but always good races get faster and faster throughout the seasons. They get they learn more, so I might be relegated down to 10th, who knows. But yeah, look, the idea, I've changed back over to the AMG. I was in the Aston last season, and I enjoyed the Aston, but I've always liked the AMG, and it just seems to suit me a bit better. So see how the season goes. If I can turn up to every race, I'll turn up, and if not, try not to take it too serious and just have a bit of fun.
Yeah, and you do get the 2 drop rounds, so hopefully if you can make every race at least but one, then this can be a drop round, and then you're back on an even playing field, so to speak. So fingers crossed that works out for you.
Yeah, definitely. I'll try and get onto the tailgates of Merit, hopefully, if I can get fast enough. Maybe you can show me around the racetrack a little bit more while I sit behind him.
Yeah, good luck with that. He is very, very fast. I know he's listening, but
yeah, I know he's in here. I just thought I'd throw that in there. So
he is incredibly quick, and he showed that today because Samuel, we know how fast Samuel is, and he just could not quite live the pace of Merit, and he was the only man to drop into the 1 minute 24s, which was quite a thing to see, and something I wasn't expecting to see at any point during this race. But of course, he went up and did it and earned his middle name of Hot Lap. Thanks. Hughes for joining us, Jeff. I'm sure we'll chat to you again as the series progresses, and best of luck. Hopefully your hardware does a better job next race, because it was your hardware that let you down tonight, let's face it.
Yeah, thanks a lot, guys. Thanks for everything, and enjoy the rest of the evening.
Yeah, cheers for joining us, Jeff. We'll go on to next to Kurt Normanson, who fair to say not the ideal round you would have wanted coming into it. How did you read that?
Yeah, I definitely can find a bit more pace. I forgot to load my setup before the race, so I definitely hurt myself there in the sprint. And then so I had to try and relearn it for the feature because I had the wrong setup for the sprint. So but definitely think I can get a bit more pace and hopefully not put it in a fence in the last 5 minutes next time.
That does help with the finishing position, not putting it in a fence. I've tried it. I've done scientific experiments, and I found in 100% of cases where I didn't put it in the fence, I finished better. So.
Yeah, I just ran wide at turn 1 and it snapped on the grass.
Oh, so easy to do, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just one of those tracks.
It's just turn 1 in particular is one of those corners that just begs you to take more speed into it, and you sort of take it and you think, I didn't really scrub very wide last time, like I definitely could have carried more. And then you carry more, you're like, nope, back in my box I go.
yeah, I think I just hit a bump as I was trying to get back on the track and it went back the other way.
Oh no.
Nothing I could do about that, just one of those things. We'll bounce back next next week and try and do a bit better.
Yeah, and I'm sure you will. So what's the aim for next week then?
I'd just like to have good races, honestly. I know I'm not going to finish at the top. I don't have that kind of pace, but as long as I can have good runs with the boys, that's all I'm really here for.
Oh, come on, give me a number. Give me a number.
I'll try and get top 15.
Top 15.
If I can.
All right, you hit it here. Novinson's going to top 15, so we know that for commentary next week. So we'll put everything into context. No,
Yeah.
Much as make a joke of it, it's good to know what people are aiming for, because obviously we don't want to just focus on the people at the front. So if we can get people and know what they're aiming for, then we can try and bring that a little bit to life if we remember. Just rely on memory, but that's what I want to try and achieve. I want people to feel like they can watch it for not just battles at the front, but for their own battles. So if we know there's like 4 or 5 that are battling for P15, then we can turn that into a bit of a, try and turn that into a bit of a storyline. Whereas if we don't know, then it makes it harder, so we're naturally going to gravitate towards the guys at the front. So yeah, as much as I put a joke on it, it is nice to know what people are aiming for. It just helps us add a little more colour. So 15th is what we're aiming for next round. So are you going to do much practice before the next round? Do you get much time to practice, or are you pretty much...
Yeah, I'll probably do a bit more practice for the next round. This week was just a bit busy with work and plenty to go away for the weekend, so haven't really sat in the sim too much.
I know those feels. I'm also yet to sit in the sim this week and going into the Super Formula Lights hopefully tomorrow. So yeah, I know how that feels. It'll be interesting to see how that goes.
Yeah, well, I'll definitely see you on the grid there. I'll be jumping into those.
Oh, excellent. Right, we can battle for P15 together.
That's it.
Love it. Well, I'll see you there, mate. Thanks very much for coming into Commentary Backs. Please do come in again next Wednesday, hopefully once we've seen you finish in the top 10. Yeah, just going to keep raising that bar for you.
Eventually get to the top.
Yeah, eventually. Yeah, after round 4, like, hopefully we'll see you after you win. Don't come back until then, you disappointed me. No, thanks very much for joining us. Lovely to chat with you. We'll chat to you again next week, hopefully. And best of luck with your race tomorrow and any other racing you're doing before Wednesday.
Thank you. I'll catch you guys later.
Thank you very much. And now we'll head to the round victor and winner of the feature race. It is none other than John Hotlap Merritt, a name you'll all be familiar with because he's constantly at the top and is annoyingly fast in just about every car. How much fun was it out there tonight?
Sorry, Liam, what was that? Sorry.
How much fun was it out there tonight?
Yeah, it was. Look, race 1 was good. Sam was sort of just in that draft and made it interesting. And the cars, look, the cars are variable around the track. You know, where they're weak and strong. So that was enjoyable. But particularly that other race we're watching on the stream now, it was lively up the front there. You know, there was 6 dicing it out. So no, it was good racing.
How difficult? I've got sort of a 2-part question here. How difficult was it on that first 1, 2, 3 laps going through, we'll call it the roller coaster for lack of a better name, when you do have more pace in the cars ahead and you're having to check up and hold yourself in to make sure you don't hit them from behind? And 2, not just that part, but the whole track, how difficult was it to pick your way through traffic? Because we didn't really see anyone quickly make their way through. Everyone that made their way through had to make steady, slow progress. Was it that difficult out there tonight?
Yeah, it probably wasn't worth Liam risking the race and incidents or taking someone out. It's not the easiest sort of place to overtake, and you probably make a lot of your speed in that roller coaster sort of section and down into S's down here as we're coming down now. So. Or even off the S's here, so you know, you're sort of getting checked up a bit. I actually saved a fair bit of fuel probably in that first 10 laps or so. Just it was not worth taking the risk, you know. For the you're not going to win the race at that point. So
no, you're definitely not. Like as that famous saying, right? You can win the race in the first lap, but you can't win the race in the first lap, but you can lose it. And I think actually that holds true for the first 4 or 5 laps when it's a reverse grid race. You've got to be patient and let figure out the speed of the guys ahead of you, because if you try and push your way through, it never ends well.
I think it was lap 3. I nearly sent my teammate off to the Shadow Realm through here. That was a lively moment. He probably had the wrong setup in for the last race there, and the car was very loose. So I don't know who would have given him that setup.
I might just jump in and touch on that. So there was a moment, John, where you were alongside Mikey Hammond and you had Glenn Riddell ahead, and we saw that Glenn was he defended well and he boxed Hammond off to the right hand side, and then you very sneakily shot up onto the left. Was that team calls there? Was there a strategy there, or did you just see an opening and take it?
Nah, it was just the opening opened up. So I think Mikey might have just 0x, just touching Glenn off the corner, and sort of got Glenn a little bit loose, and then he picked his line and just sort of played into the fact I got better drive off the corner.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
we were in Discord, but we weren't sort of playing it out over.
Fair enough. Yeah,
as a strategy.
I'm not a gambling man, but I would have put money, because the way that it evolved, to me, it was just like, that's a smart play. Because Hammond looked to the left, dived to the right, and then you just shot up on that gap, and they boxed him in, and then you managed to get the position as you ran down towards the chicane. So I thought it was like a team play, but no, there you go. It was just an opportunity that evolved.
Yeah, I think Mikey played ball too. We could have run too wide, but we would have just lost through that chicane. But we would have lost a fair bit of ground to the leaders at that point. So it was a smart play.
He got hit hard earlier in that, so he was obviously dealing with a fresh wound with that chicane in particular. So I don't think he would have tried anything risky after that.
Yeah, I didn't see him later. How'd he finish?
Where did he finish in this second one? P22.
Well, didn't finish, maybe.
Yeah, so 14 positions down on that last one, so it was a rough one for him.
Yeah, he had good speed. There was, as I said, that front group was some epic racing. Some fantastic side-by-side racing. Would have been good on the broadcast for sure.
I'd be kind of hear it in my voice. I've only got about half my voice left. Such was the racing, which is what I like on a Wednesday night. That's the goal, right? Is to make sure that I don't have a voice left, and make sure that Daniel doesn't have much of a voice left.
You'll be diving into the lozenges, Liam.
Oh yeah. The Pepsi went the ice cold Pepsi went very, very quickly, because the don't know if you saw it, but the production cars were great fun as well. Brilliant battling in the Mustangs, and you guys have just doubled it up fantastically. I didn't think it could be as entertaining, but you made a mighty good fist of it, and it was fantastic to watch.
Yeah, the invert works well in these sprint races. It just throws the racing up and makes it. I think it makes it enjoyable for everyone, and a good spectacle.
Yeah, it's just a shame that we lost some of the fast guys. You made mention of, what happened to Mikey Hammond and Glenn Riddell earlier on in the race. Both of them sent themselves into the shadow realm, as you put it. A shame we didn't have a few more of those guys at the top, because we could have had a really fantastic, almost a 10-way scrap, or at least a sort of 4 or 5-way scrap for the win. And instead, we had to make do with just the fantastic racing that we had at the front. It's a hard life sometimes. All right, thank you very much for joining us. Best of luck with the championship. I assume you will be aiming for the championship, given your pace and your prestige in the GT4 class. So best of luck with that, and thank you for joining us in the comms box, and I hope you will join us again and again as we go through the season.
Nah, appreciate it, guys. Thanks for the broadcast.
Much appreciated. All right, that's our driver interview section done and dusted. Thanks heaps for everyone that joined us. Really nice to have good numbers joining us in the comms box, and I think that 4 or 5 amount is just about perfect for our post show. But with that said, we've been left alone with our thoughts, and that's always dangerous. So we'll get a wrap on this broadcast. Before we do that, and thank our sponsors, is there anything you'd like to say as your final remarks, Dan?
No, nothing from my end. What I might do is I might just run through the upcoming schedule before we go, and give a shout out there to the sponsors running across the bottom of the screen. But otherwise, a fantastic night of racing as always here at the GSRC. We had a great showing there on the production car side, and then the GT4s really did deliver. It's an unfortunate one there for Sam Muir, I must say, because he obviously had that mistake which cost him dearly and allowed John to get away with that win. in that second race. But otherwise, yeah, just fantastic racing top to bottom. And just before we go, let's have a look at the week ahead. So starting with tomorrow, I am back as your producer with the dulcet tones of Zach Caban, and we start our Formula Night on a Thursday night. Knock Hill Racing Circuit is the track we're going to for the Formula V. 3 races as per usual, 10, 15, and I forgot to put the 20-minute down the bottom there, but I'll fix that up in the next one. So full reverse grid for the second race, top 10 reverse grid for the third. That starts 7:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. And then we go to the Monza circuit for the start of the Super Formula Lights, the wings and slicks. This will be a good one, ladies and gentlemen. And of course, Liam has already alluded to the fact that he will be competing in this one, so we'll see him on the grid for tomorrow night. 40 minutes around Monza in the Super Formula Lights. It will be a cracker. And also, in case you all forgot, the Super Formula Lights are rain enabled, so maybe you'll have to pack an umbrella, maybe you won't. That's where the fun is. Moving on towards Friday, a new series, a new car to the iRacing service, a new series here for the GSRC. The Stock Car Series returns with the SRX, the Superstar Racing Experience car. The track, I do not believe, has been finalised yet, but there will be 3 races, and yes, that is not a typo. It will be broadcast by our very own club president, Joe Baldwin, and I believe Nick Fodiatis will be providing comms alongside him. 3 races, 15, 20 and 15, with a full reverse grid in the second race and a top 10 reverse grid from the third. That will kick off from 8:45 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard. Moving on to Saturday, it is as usual Mountain Men. I do not believe the car has been finalised yet, but the track certainly has, because it never changes. It's Mount Panorama, 32 laps around the mountain, 8:30 p.m. Jump in. It's if you're on the fence about trying to jump into one of the series, this is definitely the one that you should. It's a nice, awesome Saturday night of racing with a great bunch of blokes, and I am biased about that. I did win it last series, and that is an example to everyone, which is as long as you participate, you can get good points. Moving on to Monday there, Super 2s from the Chicago Street Circuit, 25 minutes, 7:30 p.m. Then we broadcast the Pro Series at the Circuit de la Sarthe. That is the 24-hour de Le Mans circuit, 90 minutes, the first enduro round, 8:30 p.m. And that'll be brought to you by Zach and Adam Lavis. And then Tuesday next week, the up-and-comers. Again, the car has not been finalised yet, but that is 3 races as per usual, 10, 15 and 25. That kicks off at 7:45. And then the Orbic GT1 Civil War from Sebring International Raceway, Land of the Bumps, 35 minutes starting at 9:15. And then, of course, Wednesday next week, Knock Hill International with the TCRs. That's going to be a hell of a riot. 2 races there from 7:30, and then the GT4s go to Imola for a 40-minute race at 8:45. All right, Liam, is there anything else that you'd like to say before we wrap this one up?
Just a big thank you to everybody that's taken part in race control, particularly Schultz. You know that he's been in there. A big thank you to yourself for producing and doing a brilliant job as co-coms, as you always do. It's a pleasure commentating alongside you, and a thank you to all of the racers who made our night by giving us something very, very entertaining to comment on. It's been terrific racing up and down the field, clean racing up and down the field, and a brilliant way to start off Wednesday Night Motorsport at the GSRC for Season B of 2024.
Excellent. All right, last thing we'll do before we go, get yourself some GSRC merch. You can go to merch.tgsrci.com and get yourself a hoodie, a shirt, a stubby holder, whatever you fancy. And if you want any more information on the club, you can find us at race.tgsrci.com. If you'd like to join and what you like, you want to compete, by all means, jump on board and get amongst it. All right, thank you very much, Liam, for bringing us a commentary for tonight. Thank you very much to everyone at home for jumping on and watching. That is all from us tonight. We hope to see you tomorrow as we kick off Formula Night on a Thursday. Zach Caban will bring that to you alongside myself. But for now, we are away. Have a great night, and we'll see you on the next one.